up and down and back around again. But you can't keep the children down. Can't keep the children down. Can't keep the children down. Can't keep the children. Can't keep the children. Can't keep the children.
Oh yeah! Welcome to a very special episode of Flickin' Cousins. I am your host, Doug, and on this podcast, we, bunch of idiots, talk to another guy who hasn't seen the film or TV show, and we describe the plot to him, see if he wants to see it. But this time around, it's going to be a complete shit show. People are going to get offended. Friendships are going to end. There's going to be a lot of screaming because we are talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Is this really going to be that different from the last, like, half a dozen times you've done that?
I think it's going to be a little bit more vehement, the opinions. Okay, we have with us today just all-stars. We've got Snacks. We haven't seen him in a while. Oh, no, actually, he was on Thor, right?
Yes, I think.
Snacks?
He was the dummy.
I was the dummy.
Did you see
Thor?
Thor?
Hey now.
Nice. It's good seeing you,
Yeah.
Snacks. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did see Thor. I liked it.
Okay, great. Don't elaborate. That works.
I think I talked to Snacks. I think we oversold Thor a little bit for him, but I think he still enjoyed it.
It
Yeah.
became a very positive conversation, so that probably hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the expectations
just
keeping it
trash
low.
everything.
Yeah.
That way, people like stuff
Yeah.
better.
Tarsi, you're going to love The Last Jedi, let me tell you.
There you go.
I can't wait.
And one of those voices you heard was Rico. How you doing, Rico?
Suave.
Rico, I was working out a way somehow for you to do this whole podcast as Kylo Ren, but I think it would have been a lot more work than we want to engage in.
Yeah. Yeah, and if we nailed that voice, it would be a nightmare to have to listen to the whole time.
It'd be fun. And then we have Jeff Andreessen, the guy who refuses to have an alias.
As much as we tried.
Yeah, give me an alias. You can call me like dumb shit. You can call me whatever you want.
I'll let Snacks come up with an alias. All right. So guys, and then also I forgot to mention the dummy, Johnny T from the Shameful Dead, America's podcast, that is, and he is going to be the dummy.
Long-time listener.
Yeah. So let's start off with before.
If you listen to this podcast, you're automatically a long-time listener.
If you've listened to it once.
Long-time listener.
So I have to set the stage.
Set it up.
We're I feel like a unique group because as children we were really into the Star Wars films. So we have a very unique perspective.
It's very unique. It's true. Not that many people even knew what Star Wars was.
There weren't millions of us growing up.
Yeah.
Every time an astronaut says, I was inspired by Star Wars, I say, fuck you, you're lying.
Yeah. He's like, he probably meant Star Trek and he got him confused.
Yeah, idiot.
Well, he's a nerd because he's an astronaut, so yeah, probably.
But somebody...
Who has the cocktail?
Oh, that's me. I'll be drinking several of these.
Who doesn't?
I do not have a cough button to mute the cocktail, so the glass and the ice will be making lots of noises.
It's amazing.
Okay, so one little boy, however, lacked the imagination, the interests, or the wherewithal to see the Star Wars film, and that little boy, is Johnny T, and he joins us tonight. So, Johnny T, tell us about your life growing up without Star Wars.
My life growing up without Star Wars. Well, I did see the movies.
When?
Over time in bits and pieces.
No, we took you to see him.
I know.
In high school.
No, well, those
the
were
re-releases,
those
The
were the
special
shitty
editions?
ones.
Yes.
The special edition.
Those, but Steve, those were the shitty ones.
Those
Did
were the
you like
originals. What are
when you saw
talking about?
Jabba in A New Hope? Did you say, I know why you guys love these movies now?
No, I was just like, yeah, it's fine. I didn't miss anything.
I think we all fell asleep watching The New Hope during the re-release.
We fell asleep during all.
Well, did you guys show up drunk or
No, this was
What
before
was
we drank.
Yeah, yeah.
This was high school.
I have to admit, I was really,
Pre-Zima?
So
really
yeah, so
pumped
so when I
when-
was growing up, yeah, like nobody. I mean, it wasn't on purpose. I just like nobody had it or played it in full. There was never like a gathering where like we would watch it. So
But
I
I
just
remember
saw
it being on
growing
like
up.
USA and stuff. Sometimes they would have
Yeah.
the marathons where they would show it all
USA
Saturday.
had it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure, and I would probably. I mean, I don't.
You didn't
know
go
what-
outside. I know that.
Yeah, I don't know how old we were at the time, but yeah, I don't know if my parents had USA, but
It
you
wasn't
know,
a
it was just
premium.
kind of on, and I just watched it bits and pieces over time, and then I felt like when I was like 20, I had probably seen enough pieces that it was probably most of the movies, so I was good enough with it. Like that was good enough for me.
Now, did we drag you to the first prequel movie in 98, I think it was, or 97, I can't remember. The
99.
99, whatever, the Phantom Menace. Did we drag you to that, Johnny T?
Well, I don't know if I was as excited as everyone
No,
else
but did you
was,
go?
But I went.
Yeah. Did you wait outside
I
for
don't know
tickets
if-
like
I
the
don't
rest of
know.
us?
Yeah, I don't know if I went begrudgingly.
Did you wear a bathrobe and did you stand in line?
No. I just went as if I would go to any other movie.
Okay.
And it was okay. It was fun. I don't remember how.
You didn't have expectations, so
No,
your
no,
experience. was
none.
fun.
I was just like, okay, this is cool. You know, we'll check it out. But again, it's just, I don't know. It's lightsaber fights and stuff, and you're like, all right, that's cool. That's it.
All right, great. So that's what Johnny T's dealing with now. We're gonna try to describe the plot of the movie to him to keep the format of this podcast going, but it's gonna be a disaster. And we have strong opinions. So we're gonna go around the room.
Yeah, now, can I give you a quick status on where I am at today?
Oh, please, by all means.
So, I did see The Force Awakens, right? That was one from a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I didn't quite like it. It was okay.
Can you articulate
Nice.
why?
Honestly, I thought the acting and the dialogue was just kind of shitty. Like it just wasn't. I don't know. Like it just seemed like it was like a bad SNL skit when it started. So I don't know if it was just like the actors or the dialogue, but I just didn't think it was that good. Then I saw Rogue One 2 weeks ago, and I thought that movie was awesome.
Oh, okay, very cool.
Top to bottom, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Star Wars or not, I just thought it was like a really, really good movie.
Very interesting. All right, so we're going to go around the room now, and we're going to give our reviews. Now, I'm going to let everybody have time to talk. Don't interrupt each other. And we're going to start with, because I don't know, I know kind of what Snacks feels, and I know what I feel, but I'm curious about Rico and Jeff Van Driesen. So I want to start with Rico. Give me all your general review, any of the major nitpicks or major why you liked it or why you didn't like it, and we're going to try not to interrupt you. Go ahead, Rico.
All right. I knew I'd be first. All right. So first, I feel that I should elaborate on what my opinion was of The Force Awakens. So from the prequels, everyone hates the prequels, right? That's like the wide thing. Prequels ruin Star Wars. Screw George Lucas. He sells off Disney. He sells Star Wars to Disney. Everyone goes, okay, oh, Disney's got it. All right. Oh, J.J. Abrams, we're excited. Woo, Star Wars is going to live. And then The Force Awakens comes out. And instead of progressing a plot 30 years later off of Return of the Jedi and all the potential that was there, we got a remake, which I get why they gave us a remake. It was safe. It was, boardroom decision type stuff. But for me, I was pretty bummed out because I went, oh, it's Empire versus Ragtag Rebellion all over again. And here's a new, trilogy with this same setup. So Force Awakens wasn't in love. I was pretty irritated at that. So in a way, going into this movie, I had already been very irritated with this trilogy. So my expectations were low, and I was trying my best not to hate it walking in. What I would say about this movie overall is, first off, 2.5 hours, no reason. I'm sure other people will agree. Maybe others will disagree. And also, a very mixed bag. There were some things that were like, okay, fine, and even the second time I viewed it, I said, okay, I'll enjoy it. Other things were garbagey and completely unnecessary. And a certain character, I guess we can just jump right into it, right?
Can you elaborate on just really quickly the things you liked and the things you didn't like, the highlights, please?
Yeah,
okay.
and can we do spoiler alert? We will be talking about the movie.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Johnny T. So I didn't have to say that.
Spoilers. Yeah. Okay. So the main plot is kind of stupid. We have these rebels. It's incredibly stupid. We have these rebels that are running away from the First Order. And and everyone will have their opinions on this, but
man, I'm lost already.
There is so there's the survivors,
no.
Leia.
No, don't get too much into the plot.
Yeah, you're getting lost. You're getting lost.
Yeah,
in the
I
plot.
don't know what to. Okay, so anyway,
just say
the main plot with the rebels running away from the First Order, which we'll elaborate on, is really silly and stupid and kind of lazy. They make the First Order half menacing still, but also half like they're clowns, so you go, okay, I guess we're undercutting the power of the First Order, whatever. Finn comes out of a coma. They should have left him in a coma.
You're still doing plot, Rico.
I don't know how to talk about this.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. Just
right?
Don't elaborate. Just say, I thought Finn was a waste or whatever. Just,
The Finn plot line was a waste. That's all I'm trying to say with a little joke, is that he should have stayed in the coma the whole movie.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. He didn't need to show up. They don't know what to do with that guy. And there we are. Luke, I guess I'll be okay. I knew, Force Awakens made him a loser. So I already went into it knowing he was going to be a runaway loser, because that's what they did with all the old characters in Force Awakens. They made them all losers. And I went, oh, okay, great. Here we are. So, I was ready for that. There were I liked things with Rey and Kylo, actually. I didn't hate that. There was the plot devices they used. I was like, okay, I guess whatever. The Force can do this now. It was a setup for a Luke payoff that we'll get into and whatever. I won't hate that. So for me, it was ultimately a mixed bag.
But it sounds a lot more negative than positive from your...
Tip to best case for me was it's fine.
Okay.
The stuff I liked was fine. The stuff I didn't like, I was, pretty crap.
I think that's 3.5 out of 4 whatevers is what I'm getting.
Yeah. I give it, 8 Zarlak hits out of 10.
All right, let's hear from Jeff Andreessen.
Oh boy, guys, here we go. Okay, so I'm guessing that I have a very different perspective than everybody else, because I really enjoyed the movie. I'm not gonna lie. I know, and here's why. Here's the thing. I agree that it's got tons of flaws and faults. It's far from perfect. It is way too long. It's got some plotting issues for sure. It's messy as all hell, thematically, structurally, but I had a really good time watching it. And here's the thing I really enjoyed about it. I haven't experienced a Star Wars movie, and this includes Rogue One, that has done things like this yet. And what I mean by that is, and I get that mileage may vary, because it's kind of, it's because it's doing things different, it doesn't do all those things well. But like, it was the first non-predictable Star Wars movie I've seen since I can't remember how long, since probably, and I'm not saying it's as good as this, but since Empire Strikes Back. And I think it was a deliberate decision to sort of rip up, especially the shit that was introduced in The Force Awakens. And like, there's deliberate choices about symbols from the past, and they're how they're not like worth what we think that they are, how we toss them aside. They literally burn the canon at one point, although I think it's ended up they saved the Jedi books at the end or some shit.
That's so.
Hang on.
Shut up.
It's my time.
Sorry.
You'll get your chance.
Write notes. Take notes.
I'm writing notes. Yeah.
I'm almost done. And here's the other thing. There's a lot of themes going on. I think the movie is about failure. to a certain extent because every single character fails. Every single one of them fails in some way or another. And I find that really interesting. And I don't think that's something we've seen in a Star Wars movie before. It's also the first Star Wars movie that's tackled, although it doesn't do it with a particular amount of grace, a sense of moral ambiguity. Because, in the past, it's always been like the good guys and the bad guys, and there's a very clear line. You can be this or you can be that. Like Darth Vader, he kills the Emperor, and now he's a good guy, even though he's done horrific things. He's killed kids. It doesn't matter. Now he's a good guy. He's brought balance to the Force. And, that's a little simplistic, but that's essentially like what we're supposed to feel about the character and how his redemption arc works. And here, I think that when they get into some of the plots, like the mutiny, or the general who doesn't communicate very well and like puts everybody at risk, or just the simple fact that they're just running away all the time, that all the characters want to run away, or the fact that there's characters who are funding both sides of this war, and that there's slavery in the universe, which they've explored before to a certain extent, but this is the first time they've dealt with it explicitly. And again, they don't do it with any tact or grace, but it's there. I appreciated that, and the fact Luke has moral ambiguity, he feels like he fucked up, and Eric criticizes The Force Awakens, and I think in some ways he's right to, especially the fact that it's a remake, which I agree with. But I think that part of what we kind of have to do if we're going to let this franchise go is let go of the old idea of the characters we used to have and let them change a little bit. So we could have a movie that just branched off of what happened in Return of the Jedi, but I'm kind of glad that they did different things with the characters. I don't think that they're all fuck ups either. I don't think Leia's a fuck up. Luke fucked up, but I don't think he is a fuck up. I think Han is Han, and I think he actually has a nice redemption arc that sort of brings him to be this version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I think for his character makes a lot of sense. That's all Force Awakens shit, but that's, I don't know. I feel like this movie also took a lot of that crap that was set up and just said, that's stupid. We're not going to do that. That's remake bullshit. We're going to go in a new direction. And not all those choices work. I don't think that they all work, but I appreciated that they at least are trying. And overall, with that in mind, I enjoyed the movie.
Very nice. All right. Prepare your anuses. Snacks. Let's hear what you have.
I actually agree with both of the guys, but I think it's expect too much. And what I liked about The Force Awakens is I liked all the new people and none of the old stuff. It was like soon as Han Solo showed up, I just wanted to smack him and get that old dog out of there and get on with the new shit. And so I think this film was a clusterfuck. And to use a wrestling term, it was a schmoz. I love that new idea of let the past die, kill it. Yes, blow this motherfucker up, commit to that. But my problem was they wouldn't commit. And so when you wouldn't commit, it's then I don't give a fuck. So everything new and innovative they try to do, they then backpedal on it at the same time. And so it just leaves a meh, a stale taste in your mouth.
That's it. Wow. Okay, great.
Well, I mean, I got tons of them.
Yeah, I know, but that's
I should go.
It's your opening statements that's nice and concise. I like it. How are you doing, Johnny T?
Oh man, I'm being pulled in different directions here.
Are you just glancing at your phone? Because I promise you, we will talk about this movie, and we'll tell you what happens.
I did log a few Weight Watcher points, but I was listening.
Okay. I'll try to make mine concise as well, but I doubt it. So I err on the side of Jeff. So I agree with Eric. Okay, so when the movie first starts, there is a comedy scene between Poe and Hux, and I really felt sick to my stomach. Because I was like, oh, this is
Really?
cringeworthy. Yeah. That whole I'll hold for him. I said, you know what? It reminded me of the opening of Thor when he was hanging upside down by the chain and he was spinning around.
I do have to say that this movie reminded me a lot of Thor Ragnarok.
And it was okay. So thank you, but don't interrupt me again, you son of a bitch.
Sorry.
Well, when can we start interrupting?
No. Once we're done with our opening statements, and this is my opening statement, all right? So yes, and I think to now that Jeff brought it up, it did bring up Thor because what came before Thor, the first two Thor movies were fucking garbage. And that's what I want to say. about every movie, even after Jedi. People shit all over Jedi. I enjoyed Jedi. Yes, I was 4 years old when it came out. So yes, I'm probably clouded judgment. But the prequels, not good at all. We lied to ourselves. We saw them. I remember seeing the first one saying, it was good. I mean, it was good. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like I didn't want to believe it was as bad as it was. And they didn't get much better. They got a little bit better. There were parts I liked in the prequels, but not very good at all. So what I wanted as a child, this is what I wanted, was episode 7, episode 8. I wanted to see Luke, and I didn't read the extended universe crap, but I was like, oh, well, he's going to train more Jedis, and it's going to be awesome. Luke and Leia are probably going to have a kid or two, and they'll be trained, and they'll be what the news story's about, and it's going to be a lot of Jedis and a lot of lightsabers and a lot of fighting. And that was my expectation. That's what I wanted, and that got killed for me long before this movie came out. So and The Force Awakens came out, and similar to Rogue One, when I first saw it, I liked it a lot, but upon rewatches, they kind of both faded. I remember everything that Eric said about being a retread, I felt, and even Rogue One, I liked Rogue One a lot because I feel they captured the feel or the sense of a Star Wars movie, even though there weren't any, for the most part, Jedi or Skywalkers besides Darth Vader at the end and the little bit he was inserted. But for the most part, they just didn't last. Upon further inspection, they were just not enjoyable. I rewatched Force Awakens, think it's fine. I don't think it's bad. But I think my bar had been lowered so much that I really didn't care. And when they decided to burn it all down, which is basically what this movie was about, I was on board. I liked everything about this movie. I think it was a well-made movie. I think not only did they deal with usurping expectations in a meta standpoint, internally in the movie, they set your expectations, and I have to mention it now, spoiler alert, but when Luke Skywalker says, what the fuck did you do? You're going to come here and you think I'm going to face down the First Order by myself with a goddamn laser sword? And it makes you think, you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I want you to do. And that sounds ridiculous coming out of his mouth. I'm a fucking idiot for wanting that. It's dumb. And it's too late. He's old. If they would have made these movies in 89, 88, yeah, that could be done. But so he convinces me, Rian Johnson, that that's a ridiculous thing to have. But then later on in the movie, that is exactly what Luke Skywalker does. He goes out and faces the First Order all by himself. And you're like, oh my God, this is fucking happening. And of course it doesn't. He gives you what you want, but it doesn't turn out like you expect. And it did surprise me. And just to wrap it all off, I think I'm on Jeff's side. It was unpredictable, Woo-hoo! And I enjoyed myself. So we got 2 pros and 2 cons, and we've set the table for the rest of the discussion.
World War III. Team Dave. I love it.
All right. So you guys ready? We're going to interrupt each other, but let's try to describe the plot. And I guess we'll take turns.
Both you guys have said that you enjoyed the burning it down. And I feel like they pushed out of the burning it down, where they open that door,
yep,
but then they don't really burn anything down. Then it becomes the same old shit.
Yeah, well, I would argue...
What made you so satisfied with them? Like, I've been wanting them to burn it down forever, and I feel like they didn't.
I think that they're still playing it a little bit safe. I don't completely think they burned it down completely. So I know what you're saying. But what do you think that they left open that wasn't... Let me put it this way.
I feel like after we have that big emotional confrontation, right, where Rey and Kylo are in the same room again, and they have that awesome lightsaber fight, right?
Yep.
The thing is just disgustingly sick. And then at the end, they just leave, and she's like, yeah, I'm still the good guy, and you're still the bad guy, and fuck you. And this is a movie where you guys talk about the ambiguity, and you guys talk about Luke is teaching her where the Force is a space in between, right? And you're like, oh, that's cool, right? Like, we're going to get shades of gray. And then they have Finn with that terrible character Rose, and then the terrible thief character. And Finn's like, hey, maybe I'll end up somewhere in between too. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucking cool. These guys are going to be different and find balance, right? It's all about balance. And these people are going to find balance in the middle. And you're like, sick, fantastic idea. And then at the end of it, Finn's like, fuck it, I'm a good guy. And they're all, and they don't change, and they don't find that balance. And it just resets to good guys, bad guys at the end of the
Jeff,
movie.
please go, and then I want to follow that up.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I think that there's the moral ambiguity in the universe. There's not necessarily moral ambiguity in the characters. It depends on the character, and that's when I was talking about the ambiguity. I was talking more about just this scope of this movie. I think that the subversion in the Kylo and Ren scene is you think it's going to go a specific way, and it goes in lots of different ways that it's setting you up for, and you get the payoff that that's not what it is. For example, they have this emotional connection, which is really nice, and I actually like the scenes. I like the framing of the scenes, especially.
I agree. I thought all that shit was great
when they're talking to each other over great distance using the Force. I thought that was awesome. And so when they meet, and like he's just like, no, first of all, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if she was gonna like tip into the dark side. I didn't know if he was gonna actually like go along with her and her plan to sort of bring him over. I thought that would have been bad because it essentially would have been Return of the Jedi all over again. I thought her going to the dark side didn't really make a lot of sense. And so when Kylo just kills Snoke, I was like, cool. Like that, who gives a shit about this guy anyway?
Too.
Get rid of that fucking waste of a
Who
character.
gives a shit?
And also, they
like,
had no plan for
I love
him,
the way
so
it happened.
didn't matter.
Right. I don't even think they really considered. I think Abrams probably had a plan for him, but
No,
fuck
Abrams, the guy from Lost.
Who doesn't think ahead at all.
He was only involved with Lost in the first season, so let's not pin the whole thing on Lost.
Did he have an ending in mind?
I don't fucking know, man. Did
I don't
anybody?
think so.
Like,
There's no way.
Don't crucify me. Anyway,
You answer for J.J. Abrams' sins.
Right after that, I was like, okay, cool. Kylo's going to be good now. And then Kylo's like, no, I'm doubling down on being a fucking bad guy. I killed that guy to take over him. And what I like about this character,
I'm a Sith. I'm selfish. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Well, it's about like when she goes down into the weird like anus of Darkseid town, she just sees this mirror with lots of versions of herself. And that's essentially what the dark side is. It's all about the self. It's all about like who
Satanism.
you are. Yes, and about like thinking about yourself in terms of I'm the most important thing about the universe, right? And so Kylo Ren, his whole thing is like I'm important because I'm a Skywalker and I'm bad. I want like all this stuff. I want the power. I'm going to be on the top. And he's manipulated because he thinks he's special. And so the thing about Rey that drives him crazy is she's not special, but she's still really powerful. So when he was basically like, I know what your parents are, you know what your parents are. And
that was my favorite. I'll summarize it for you. You're a loser from playing loser.
Yeah, that's great.
Your parents are drunk losers.
All right, I do want to. I want to keep it. I please wrap it up, Jeff, just because I do want to continue.
I apologize.
No, please. We're gonna be doing this all night.
For years, there's been this speculation about who her parents are, and I just love that the answer is nobody.
Maybe.
Like,
and I thought that
it can change again.
I don't think if it changes again, I'll be very disappointed. I really will.
I hope
I
it
really
doesn't.
don't think it will. I think
It could change. Yeah.
And that was one of my that was one of the problems I had with when they introduced what the fuck were they called?
Metachlorians? What? Yeah, of course. It was the worst thing in the world.
Where I like the idea that anybody could be in touch with the Force if they just believed a lot. And this still like is more like, I don't know, some kids are like mutants or whatever. But like, you know, so I do like that window open. But I'm still not convinced that I still feel like when Eric said boardroom, I still think the boardroom won out on this halfway through.
Let me just interject real quick, and I do want to move on. Going back, because I wrote down your point is the strongest point. How is this not like why if they're really going to burn it down? Why wouldn't they just fully commit and burn it down? And my answer to that would be because it still has to be a Star Wars film. And I feel like this still is a Star Wars film. It just makes you question. It's like it introduces all these what ifs. Like this could go any number of ways. Now it does end up going, you know, if you look at just the way it just the final scorecard, yeah, you have good guys and bad guys. It reminds me a lot of like BioShock Infinite, where like, you know, they're like, there's all these worlds, there's all these parallel dimensions, but still it starts with a guy and a girl And, we know what Star Wars is going to be. There's the Force, there's the good side and the bad side. But the fact is they just kind of like introduced a possibility of, it's complicated. Like, I agree that Rose was terrible. The locks, the code breaker was terrible. But Finn's like, you're wrong. And he's like, so the codebreaker says, they're blowing you up today. Don't worry, you'll blow them up tomorrow. And that is undoubtedly true. And Finn says, you are wrong. And the codebreaker says, he's like, yeah, maybe. And I feel like that sums up the movie. And I think that's the problem is people want like pure good and pure evil. I mean, I crave it. I want it. I want justified violence. Who doesn't? Like, that's entertainment.
I think people want something different. And if you're making a movie that's all about blowing it up, and this movie is about like priming that bomb, then at the end, like you just want to go like, shit, I wasn't expecting that, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of this movie,
that's what I had.
And at the end of this movie, I'm like craving nothing. I just left and went, I guess
we're gonna see Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Jeff, what did you feel? Because I feel the exact opposite.
I thought the opposite too. But here's my fear. I get what these guys are saying because J.J. Abrams is coming back to do the next movie.
Yeah, who knows?
And I'm afraid he's going to just take it and bring it right back to what he did last time. So that's certainly a possibility. I really hope that's not the case. I hope they sort of embrace what this movie sets them up with the possibilities to do. But like, I'm not going to lie. I think it's true that this does have like sort of a boardroom kind of mentality to it a little bit. But because it's Star Wars,
it's $1 billion. How much did they pay?
We have to
Disney,
live in a world
$4 billion.
$4 billion. Do you think there's not going to be any boardroom decisions? You are living in a fucking fantasy world, you goddamn nerds. Grow the fuck up.
I think.
Sorry.
For me, let me just finish this one point. I think for me, I've been able to sort of let go of what my childhood experience with Star Wars was.
Yep.
And understand that it will never be like that again.
Nope.
No matter what.
That is dead.
No matter what.
That is gone.
So now you guys are talking about
enjoy these movies so much more personally.
I don't want to let go of expecting more from films, and particularly franchises I love. Why should I accept mediocrity?
Force Awakens. Did you think that?
My argument is not to expect less from movies. And this, by the way, I love this argument coming from the guy who loves Transformers, the franchise, but that's all right. We'll talk about that
fired.
some other time.
but Jeff, those movies have gotten progressively better if you give them a shot.
Yeah,
depends on what you mean by.
I guess it's true. I haven't watched past number 2, so I that's true. I can't.
I've seen the scene where T.J. Miller gets vaporized. That's pretty. I have to admit. I don't know. I'm not arguing for like worst Star Wars movies. I'm saying that they're never. I realized this years ago. They're never going to be like what the experience of watching them as a kid was like. Because I'm not a kid.
Yeah.
They're not being released in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
That's what I said. It's not the vision of one guy.
Okay. Can I? Okay. Well, maybe that's the example I was about to give was the vision of one guy.
Yeah.
So
and we saw what that was in the prequel, though. You can continue, and I think that was trash. So continue.
The example I was going to give is
not 100%. I'll argue. But
the example
Mostly.
The example I was going to give is Fury Road. That I saw Road Warrior as a kid and fucking loved it.
And I love that movie.
And then I saw Fury Road, and it blew my goddamn mind. Mm-hmm. And it like progressed and was better and took gigantic risks. Because I think with like risks, there's.
Do you want to recast Luke Skywalker?
Fury Road, as much as I love it, is essentially just a remake. I mean, it's a great remake.
Let's. Okay, so I feel like there's problems with what Jeff just said, and I feel like this is going to take us in a tangent. But I think there's lots to talk about here. I don't want to waste our dummy's time, who has just been sitting there probably playing, I don't know, Angry Birds for the past half hour.
Yes, let's not waste his time.
I literally just staring at your avatar images.
Okay, let's just we'll describe this plot very quickly, and if Johnny T wants to get out of here,
I do have questions.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, let's start with you, John.
Okay, so I guess I'm torn between. It seems like some of you liked it, some of you did not like it.
Right?
So what was it? Now,
Good?
okay, so my experience on the last two ones, like I really liked Rogue One because it was just fun, and Snacks and Doug know me for a long time.
John, do you like slow speed chases?
Yeah, this
For
is
an hour and a half?
not fun. I will say that. This is not what I would call fun. There are fun moments, but this is not a fun movie.
Oh, I think it's fun. I thought it was fun.
Do you like the
I enjoyed
rodeo?
it.
It's fun.
Do I like what?
The rodeo, horse races.
all right, shut up. Let's
I think they're intergalactic
all right,
llamas.
come on.
Technically.
All right.
Do you like space
Like, so I
casinos?
would say-
You like space llamas?
I'm trying to just do a comparison. So Force Awakens for me, I didn't like it. I just thought it was boring.
Right.
And I obviously I don't know the ins and outs of the storylines and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, I know enough, but like I was watching it just to watch a movie as a fan of movies, not really a fan of Star Wars per se. Didn't quite like it. Thought it was boring. Rogue One, I was like, oh, this is like a shit kicking ass movie.
And it was a standalone. For the most part, it was tied in.
So how would
shoehorned
this
at the end, but
one,
it was
if I
very-
were to go to see this
All
the
right,
new one?
Everybody shut up because don't answer that. It's going to affect his opinion. So let's just describe the plot, and we'll try to keep it as objective.
Yeah, we're not here to affect your opinion.
All right, we're trying to. All right, fine. But let's at least describe this movie ruin this movie for Johnny T. So the movie starts, the crawl. You know how they do the crawl, Johnny T? You know what's up with the like story, like just tells you what it is slowly in space.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead. Keep
basically,
going.
the bad guys, the new empire, for lack of a better word, so you understand, is going after the new rebellion. And they found out one of their bases. They jump on them. Those people are trying to run away. And there is a little bit of a space battle, which actually is pretty good. Even though I think it holds too much to, let's say, World War II conventions with the whole bombers and stuff that I didn't really care about.
I love that shit.
Bombers
I love the
in space.
bombers.
It doesn't
Love
make
it.
any sense in space, but I'm not going to nitpick.
None of
It's
this
fine.
shit makes sense in space.
I know.
It's Star Wars.
I agree with you. I'm not going to nitpick it. I like this movie a lot. I love this movie, in fact. So, but yeah. So basically, there's a battle, and they're trying to get away. The good guys are trying to get away. And I want to trust me. I want to zoom past Poe's journey and just talk about like literally what happens.
How Poe gets everybody killed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How half
Repeatedly?
of our heroes get people murdered. Yeah.
How they seem to have a message about self-sacrifice, but then they have people self-sacrifice, and it's very muddied.
No, because I think it goes back to
I
Jeff's
disagree with that
point. Yes, I think
completely.
it goes back to Jeff's point where Poe was thinking about himself. We had a chance to fucking kill a dreadnought. Isn't that awesome? And Leia was thinking about other people, all the people that he lost. And there is different self-sacrifices. There is self-sacrifice because you just are consumed with hate, like Finn at the end of the movie. And there are self-sacrifices like Laura Linney, who...
Laura Dern.
Yeah,
Laura
I know.
Dern.
I just called her Laura Linney because it's fun.
And Luke, who also gives
Yes.
a self-sacrifice.
Okay. Let's. All right. Stop. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So there's a space battle.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I know. Let's just do a quick version because we will literally talk over each other for hours. So I do want to get this over with. So there is a space battle. The good guys get away at a lot, and they have a somewhat of a victory, but they hyperspace away. And turns out that the bad guys can track them to hyperspace, which has never happened before. So basically, what's set up is a long, slow chase, which is not a great scenario, I'll admit it. But it did remind me of Battlestar Galactica. So let's elaborate on that plot point, guys, and then we'll switch over to Luke and Ray.
Sounds good.
Go ahead.
No, you guys go ahead.
The plot's pretty simple. It's slow ships in space. They can't jump into hyperspace, which is like their convenient, like, go to, we got to get out of here. The bad guys are going to kill us. So it's essentially like once they figure out they're being tracked, it's just like, well, like take the big ships and fly ahead of them and keep our shields up until we run out of fuel. And I kind of like, even though this is sort of dumb, I kind of, especially the tracking hyperspace bullshit, whatever, I kind of like that there's a clock there, and there hasn't really been a clock in a Star Wars movie in a while, since probably Star Wars with the. Like,
But I didn't feel that peril. because people leave the ship and they get back on the ship. And like
They leave
it's
the
like
ship-
I don't
They leave the ship
feel
to get onto
stuck.
smaller ships, but there is only so many smaller ships, and there's always the risk that once they leave, they could get killed, and that in fact happens.
Plus, there's,
So-
I feel like there's a feeling. I feel like it's a feeling of a collective instead of our heroes. I feel like the rebellion as an idea exists as that collective of people that are fleeing from utter destruction, more than
I also
collection
I
of
also got the
characters.
sense that they were getting wiped out throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Which made it
Yeah,
it was
they
this
were.
weird isolating movie, I know, but like I really felt that. Like I felt by the end of it there's barely any of them left. And to me that I
Yeah.
thought no, and I know that's literal, but I thought that was an effective touch where usually it's just like there's just a whole bunch of other ships that show up, whereas this one it's just like that's fucking it. Like they're pretty much picked clean.
Right.
And where does this movie fit in with the timeline of all this shit?
It's right after Force Awakens. Literally, like no time has passed.
Oh, it's right after that one. Got it.
The Force woke up and took a nap, and
Yeah.
That's why Kylo Ren with the cool lightsabers back.
Yes.
And speaking of that, in between all the other movies,
Yeah. Time gap. I agree with you 100%.
adventures have happened.
I agree.
Like when Finn wakes up, he's the exact same person he was 10 minutes ago, and these characters haven't spent any time together, shared any more experiences together than what we've seen.
Nope.
So I don't know. I just thought it was such a wasted opportunity.
you didn't feel
I
the
agree.
3 years later obligatory
And
time has passed.
Guys,
I don't
I agree with you
feel like the
100%.
characters have any relationships to one another, and I don't feel like they're active participants in the adventure that they're in.
Like it was just like part 2. Like it just
Yeah,
kind of.
I agree. Where I feel like this movie just said, "How do people feel heading into Empire Strikes Back?" And it's like piggybacking off again the nostalgia.
See,
I think Disney's caught
that-
off nostalgia. But
I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to say that this is you guys kind of clinging to the original trilogy and putting those expectations on this one.
Wow.
And I
A
get what you're
little-
saying. I get what you're saying to a certain extent, where you kind of wanted these characters to grow off
Because
screen.
they can develop.
I'd much rather see them develop on screen, and I think that they all do in this movie. And yeah,
See, and I don't. But see, that's the thing. They have zero relationships.
They're on
that's what we're
individual.
saying.
I
you
think
see
they're on
Rose develop,
individual
you see Finn
journeys,
develop. I think you see Rose develop. I
Yes.
think you see.
but
I
not
think you
together,
see Rey
which I
develop.
think is Steve's or Snack's point and Eric's.
So, like, so in New Hope,
I
you
think
have
you
an
see-
adventure
I think
with
just-
the main cast all together,
I think you
and so
see
they have
Rey-
that shared experience.
See Rey and Kylo develop together, and I understand what you're talking about in terms of Rey and Finn, but like their reunion happens, and that's a big moment, and I think
Or
that
even Ray and Poe.
no, we're
it's so-
talking.
It's so clunky at the end where she's like, "Oh, hey Poe, hey Ray, I've heard a lot about you."
Let's
like,
We're
yeah,
gonna
it's like-
groan in the third movie, right?
All right, all right.
Wink, wink.
Wait.
clunky as compared to what? What do you expect them to just like? I don't know.
Plus,
that doesn't bother me.
Let's
They
think
haven't
about
met
Poe.
before.
Poe in Force Awakens doesn't have really. He interacts with Finn,
Shit to do.
and then he disappears and does dick.
He's
basically
barely in it.
Finn does what Poe did last movie, and I hate both situations where he just goes off on his own. I mean, sure, we got to see more of what happened to Finn, but Poe was really a non-element in the last movie. He really
Yeah,
was.
I would say he's a non-element in this movie too.
Poe
Was he
really?
Was he the
No
dude that
way.
he had like
He's
10
a new-
minutes
he's a
screen
new
time in
general.
Awakens?
I'm sorry.
What
What?
was that?
No, never mind. Proceed.
Oh no. You're you're playing the dummy. You are an important person.
So,
here.
so the dummy's asking. So Poe is just the dude in Force Awakens who
He's
was,
a hotshot pilot.
driving a spaceship for a bit, right?
Yep.
For like 5 minutes.
Yep.
And then
he's
dead.
perceived dead, and then he shows up later in an X-wing.
But he wasn't a big character in that movie.
No.
No, he wasn't.
But he's big now.
I have to just say this. He was plugged in as people who were fans of the what were the video games, the X-Wing video games that were big. He was the payoff for fans of those video games.
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron. He was
They
the
were great
Rogue Squadron super pilot, right? That's him.
Right.
Yep.
Boardroom
Yeah.
decisions.
Does that track with you, John?
That jives. That jives. I appreciate the backstory.
Okay, I'm gonna push forward. Sorry, guys, push forward. So speaking to Johnny T's point, then we cut back to during this whole thing. We cut back to Rey, who we ended in Force Awakens, where she finds Luke Skywalker and gives him the lightsaber, and we're left with that tension. Do you remember that, Johnny?
I do remember that.
Okay, so we take
literal cliffhanger.
Literal cliffhanger takes right back up to that moment. Luke gets the lightsaber and throws it away, and he just throws it over his shoulder, and he literally does not pick up a lightsaber the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and when I was watching Rogue One, I was expecting that to pick up. Nothing happened. Totally different.
That was a one-off, Johnny T. So is the Han Solo movie that's going to come out in like 5 months or whatever.
Totally different.
All right, so Luke as a hermit, he basically feels terrible because he, after not becoming his father, he basically recreated his father in a new kid, and that's Kylo Ren, which was his sister's son. So he has the Skywalker pedigree. He was really powerful. He tried to train Jedis. His nephew, Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, gets really dark force influenced. And, basically Luke had a hand in his training, so he's kind of responsible for creating Kylo Ren, even more so, as we find out later. But basically, he's in hiding. He doesn't want to do anything with the Force. He is done with all of it. He's just going to be a hermit. Very similar to Ben Kenobi. But Rey is there. She's like...
But without a purpose. He became a hermit to just get away.
I guess Ben Kenobi's purpose was to safeguard Luke on that pile of shit, even though he really had no direct...
Yeah. To wait till Luke was of drinking age.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, Luke, let's go out and get drunk. Here's this gun. Shoot it.
It's Fleet Week, Luke. Time to become a man.
All right, so Luke is just a sad sack. I mean, he's like old as shit, and he just wants nothing to do with anybody. He just wants to be a hermit. He wants to go off and die. Not only does he want to go off and die, he thinks the Jedi Order should go off and die, and we learn more about that later. Guys, go around and elaborate, please.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. That.
All right. You nailed it.
This is going to be a great episode, guys.
Right.
Well, it's just let us go.
What Luke elaborates on in this thinking is saying, even in the height of the Jedi, and he brings it back to the prequels, where he's like, even when these Jedi and they had their big temple and they're training for 1,000 years, they still blow it. And the Emperor comes into power right under their noses.
Yeah.
And so Luke, having tried to continue on another generation, being the first Jedi after the fall of the Jedi Order, immediately the dark side seeps back in, and he kind of goes, oh, the second you try and train someone in the Force, why would they not turn? Right.
Here, let's just jump ahead to this. Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
He talks about this as a sense of arrogance. Like, he feels like he thought since he was so great, like the great Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, he started buying his own hype.
He bought his own hype, and he thought that he could train these people. And then what I really like is the Rashomon quality that goes with his awakening feeling that Kylo Ren is turning to the dark side. At first, you get this flashback that's like Kylo tried to murder him because he was tempted by the dark side. Then you get Kylo's version of it, which is basically like Luke was just going to straight up murder him.
All right.
And then
John, that's a plot point later in the movie, but you'll love it, John.
Snacks,
John,
tell him now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's just go there. Yeah.
Just tell me.
So, John, there's a little bit of confusion between the characters about what happened back in the day with like Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker. And essentially what happens is Kylo Ren's like sleeping, and Luke Skywalker feels like he's all creepy with like evil Force shit. And he walks in there and he thinks about like killing him right there with his lightsaber, and then changes his mind. And the kid wakes up and he's just like, what the fuck? My uncle just tried to kill me.
Yeah, it's like waking up with your uncle with a shotgun cocked and like kind of aiming at you. You're like, oh.
Or his pants off. Chunky Doug.
I really like that scene because I think that the character, from the original series is all about basically giving up. I mean, his climax comes when he refuses to fight Darth Vader and just trusts that the goodness in Darth Vader will win out, and he's ultimately right.
It's called faith.
Right. And so like when he basically like embraces this idea of trying to kill evil, it's a big character no. It kind of goes against who he is. Yeah. And of course he has second thoughts about it. He decides like, wait a minute, I can't do this.
And
but
plus,
just the fact that he thinks about it is enough to cement like what he's done to Kylo. I think.
Notice that when he does, okay, so we get two sides of the stories. Like when anybody breaks up, you hear about like the breakup story from each one of them, and the truth is somewhere in the middle, Johnny. So like Luke tells it like, oh, I thought he was going to be bad. He woke up and he tried to kill me. And then Kylo
with no
Ren,
lightsaber talk.
No lightsaber talk. He's
Luke's
just like
standing there. And
he's just like,
he's-
Kylo Ren was just a dick and he tried to kill me. And then they talk to Kylo and Kylo's like, no, Luke was standing over me. And they show the flashback and Luke has like sunken eyes and he's got his lightsaber out and he looks like he's just gonna fucking murder Ben Solo or Kylo Ren as a child or teenager or whatever. So the truth comes out, and when they do the truth thing, Luke Skywalker talks about it, and they show he pulls out his lightsaber, but he tellingly is holding it in his mechanical / Darth Vader hand, which, his whole thing, his baggage is he doesn't want to become his father. Which I and this comes back to a bigger point of just, I think this is more homaging as opposed to remaking. So they kept the theme of like, he was going to kill this child, and when he wanted to, he was going to do it with his mechanical, machine Darth Vader-y hand. And he decided not to do it.
This movie's filled with imagery like that, though. Like, one of the things I love the most is all the little like Muppets and Care Bears that they invented for this movie, and how they gravitate to the good guys. Whether it's the Crystal Foxes or the Porgs.
Well, it's just life, organic. Well, like even when they show, okay, so let me just go off of that, and you can elaborate. But when Rey and Kylo are having, by the way, Johnny T, the main bad guy and the girl with the Force can talk to each other over long distances and kind of like a weird projection.
They have an LDR.
They're like sexting.
So they're like sexting where they can like just talk to each other over long distances. Fine.
John, best part. They cut to this guy when they're like talking like across space, and the dude has his pants pulled. The guy has his pants pulled up to his tits.
Yeah,
and
his shirt off.
Get his shirt off.
Is there a connection between the two, like a love interest?
Ooh,
oh sure.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
It becomes a plot point. Yeah.
Okay. I probably won't be here later, but you can tell me later.
We'll just talk to the empty air.
But essentially, like, every time they show Rey, she's like wet from rain, or she's got fire. Yes, she's wet from other reasons too. But she's just very organic-y. She's surrounded by stone, and she's lit by fire. She's covered in water. All basically like the Captain Planet elements are perfusing Rey, whereas when you cut to Kylo Ren, he's being attended by robots in a very sterile environment where they're trying to stitch together his face. So they're counteracting. So it goes to Snacks' point about these critters and the puppets, and basically just these creatures being attracted to the good guys. And I agree with you. So
now I wrote one note in everything you guys have said so far. And it says here, Snacks said something about a killer lightsaber fight.
Yeah, okay. So, Dave, I can do this plot so quickly if you let me.
Oh, yes. Okay, go, Snack. I will interrupt Snacks if he gets out of control. Or you miss something. Go ahead.
And go.
I'm gonna miss a ton.
And I will stop you, and feel free to stop Snacks.
This is a back of a novel. So Rey's training with Luke on this island, finding out all this shit about like this guy trying to kill her like maybe boyfriend. Bad guys are chasing the other guys in that slow speed chase through space.
Got it.
Finn,
yep, with you.
Finn meets a new lady who's like, "Oh, Finn, you're so impressive," while he's trying to run away from that spaceship that's like getting real slow. And he's like, "Oh, I'm not trying to run away," or whatever. Poe and them come up with a plan. They have to go to this casino planet to get a code breaker to break onto the bad guy's ship that's chasing them to stop it or stop the tracking somehow.
To stop the light speed tracking.
Yeah, so they can get away.
So they have like a casino adventure, and there's like horses, and it's really fucking dumb. And then they get llamas, and then they get locked up, and they take a different code breaker who's Benicio del Toro, who talks with a speech impediment, and they take
brave choice, because
fucking why not? Ray finds out what happened between Luke and Kylo and calls Luke out on it. Hauls ass to go hang out with Kylo. She's like, I'm going to go with my internet boyfriend. Fuck you, Dad. Finn and Rose. Rose is the girl that had the crush on Finn. Get back on the bad guy's ship, and they get caught, and somebody else can take over.
Okay, so they get caught, and it was all a part of Poe, who's the hotshot pilot's great harebrained scheme that had 1,000,000 to 1 odds plan of succeeding, which is a trope in these movies. And it's saying that, hey, sometimes that doesn't always work. On top of that is all this piled thing where, oh, we didn't even talk about it. Okay, Tars. So, you know who Princess Leia is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Princess Leia is, the twin to Luke Skywalker, daughter of Darth Vader. She has shown no Force acclimate except for being able to talk to Luke via the internet, like AOL. And Kylo Ren confronts the rebels with his mom, i.e. Princess Leia on board. She's now a general. And he attacks the ship, and he's about to blow her away, but he doesn't do it. He doesn't pull the trigger. But he's also with 2 guys, and they pull the trigger for him. And they blow up the bridge, everybody on the bridge, so all the rebel leaders die. And his mom gets sucked out into the vacuum of space, and you think she's dead because she's dead in real life. And you're like, okay, well, this is how Princess Leia / Carrie Fisher leaves the franchise. Yeah. So they go on and they do other stuff, but then they come back to her. She's floating in space, and then her fingers twitch, and then she wakes up, and then she Force pulls herself back to safety inside the ship in a very goofy. I laughed out loud, but I enjoyed it.
I loved it. Yeah. It is goofy,
it was Mary
Poppins.
I agree with Jeff 100%. It was goofy as fuck. It was Mary Poppins. It was Glinda, the Good Witch of the North or whatever. She fucking holds out her hand and she floats through space in slow motion and comes back to safety, and she's not dead. And it worked. I think it worked more because she died in real life. I think that's why it worked well.
That helps. But I love how in Star Wars, if anybody gets hurt really badly, they just fucking stick tubes on their head and they're all fine.
Yeah.
Just like,
they get a droid,
you're in a coma?
medical
tubes,
droid
get
on
the
them.
Tubes. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
They didn't dump her in a tank. Yeah, that's true.
And that's it. Like, she survives, but she's in a coma. But basically, there's an insurrection. Poe thinks he knows better than the person that they get to replace Leia, which is a woman. And Poe, you can tell, kind of is uncomfortable with this woman because he even says, this is not what I expected out of her or this vice admiral. So he tries to mansplain to the new woman, which is Laura Linney from the Jim Carrey movies. And
Laura Dern is Laura Dern.
Laura Dern from Jurassic Park.
Anyway, but basically,
anywho,
Poe thinks he's got this harebrained scheme. He thinks he knows better. And it doesn't work. Which makes the whole casino thing even dumber, is the fact that it doesn't work, and the whole casino thing is there to just teach Poe a lesson, which I agree is awful.
Can I bring up plot things
yes,
like
please,
that,
go
Jeff?
ahead.
Can I bring up plot things like that?
Oh, that's Laura Linney. Oh,
like,
okay.
Do you think it was a tight, well-plotted movie, or did you think it needed more time to, not time theatrically, but time to perfect
work?
Yeah, develop.
It needed another year. I think that they should.
Yeah, they need 3 years between these
I think
movies.
they need 3 years. I do think it was rushed. Trust me, there's shit that doesn't work, and it is. I agree that it's a bit of a mess.
And I want to talk about the Rose character particularly. So what are your guys' thoughts about her?
Let's do it. I think she's terrible. I think they wanted they wanted the average guy. They basically needed somebody else they didn't know what to do with Finn. I will start there. They didn't know what to do with Finn.
Yes.
And they needed somebody to go on the trip with him, and I would have preferred C-3PO to Rose.
Well, my biggest question is, why didn't Poe go on the trip with him? Because it's like he could serve that same role, teaching him about what's good.
Because he needed to get his teeth kicked in. He needed to learn a lesson by failing. He needed failure to teach him, which I think is one of the themes.
When they come back and get caught, like Rose and Finn get caught, that could be when he gets his teeth kicked in. Right?
I think that his leadership, his struggles with the leadership work better if he's on the ship. And I think that helps advance his character better. I don't. What's everybody's problem with Rose? I didn't dislike Rose.
I just I
Well,
don't
what was
know.
it? Like,
I think it's that like I don't feel strongly for the characters enough yet. And then when you introduce new characters, I care about them less.
I feel like she's not charismatic. Like I liked Finn. Finn is charismatic. Rey is charismatic. Poe is charismatic. Rose just isn't.
I don't know, man. I liked her as soon as she like shot Finn for trying to escape, even though he wasn't really like being a pussy. She was just like, "Oh, you're gonna escape," and just fucking shoots him. I was like, "Oh, Team Rose." I don't know.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
But then she's
I think
also
for
like a
me,
social
it's-
warrior. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
So their whole plot line is essentially saying, hey, what if Star Wars follows a couple of janitors and we see a side story with a couple of janitors, and can they do something great? And while two janitors could do something great, again, I get to Jeff's point, it's everything's about failure in this movie, but they go on this kind of
Side quest.
like a side quest that has kind of social warrior kind of overtones of like, there's all these
The
things
1%,
that should
war
be addressed. Yeah,
profiteering,
1%ers, and we're
vegetarianism.
beating animals, and
Yeah.
there's slavery and there's shitty stuff, which I agree should be addressed in this galaxy. But the way they did it, it felt like that should have been one of the cartoon episodes.
It was ham-fisted.
It was
forced.
ham-fisted.
very
It was
ham-fisted.
quickly done.
I'm glad that it's not in the cartoon universe. I'm glad that it's in the main franchise.
It made him,
wasn't-
and I think
it
they could
wasn't
run
addressed
with it.
with any
But
grace. But that being said, I really like the casino planet because every single time you're in a Star Wars scene with lots of different aliens, they're all like fucking like drunk.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Like alien drunks. And I love
Yep.
seeing the Rich planet.
yeah, I like that it's not a hive of slime and villainy or whatever,
Right.
right? It's
So-
not another-
But that's also
Yeah.
usurping expectations because Rose said, "Oh, it's filled with the worst people," and you think it's going to be
Right.
the cantina again. So it's
Exactly.
Ryan Johnson usurping your expectations. Or
I guess. Yeah.
Right. So
It was lazily designed.
it
That was
wasn't
my
good.
position
I'm
as a
I'm
designer.
defending it
Yeah.
because I saw it twice. It wasn't as bad. the
I
second
didn't.
time.
The design didn't bother me, but I'm not a costume designer.
I
so-
have some
It was
dumb
lazy
questions.
as fuck.
Go ahead.
I have some dumb questions. So this Finn, that's the black dude, right?
Oh,
That's
jeez.
right.
Oh,
no,
God.
really. I'm not saying that.
yeah, John.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
No, but is he? Do you guys like that character? Like, do you root for that character?
Yes,
or is
I like
this
him a
kinda
lot.
there?
I like him as an actor and I like him as a
No.
character because he's like,
I don't root for him.
oh, okay. Snacks?
Has nothing to do with
I did
who
after
he is.
I liked him very much in the first movie.
Yes, me
and
too.
even when they reintroduce him in this movie, I love the first words out of his mouth.
I
Like
just thought he was lame in Force Awakens. Is he just as lame in this one?
they make
more
him
lame.
really lame in this one.
Yeah.
really
He
lame.
gets people killed.
He's not good
He
at
doesn't
what
try
he's
to get people
doing,
killed,
but he's really like he's really just like this like sweet kid.
he's
and
earnest.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's kind of great. Like I love that about him. He's not like this ultimate warrior or anything like that. But he never. They try to maybe suggest that he is in the first movie, and then you realize, oh no, he's just some dude.
Yeah, he's just a doofus.
Yeah. But I like that about the character.
I do too. I like him.
So
All
one
right.
of the things you guys brought up, which I guess I'll bring up now when we're on the casino planet, we're talking about wasted opportunity. And you guys are having me think about my own expectations for things, right? And I guess I expect from Star Wars movies, right or wrong, and I might be wrong in this, action scenes that I like to imagine after I leave the movie. And like I'm thinking like New Hope, there's the trench run, there's like all these scenes, right?
Yeah.
And even Rogue One has a bunch of scenes that I can still like, that you can still fantasize
memorable.
about.
Yeah, and
Right.
The Force Awakens with the Raptors, you're like, I wish I was going through that ship with the doors. You fucking asshole.
The Force Awakens, I was more thinking the Millennium Falcon flying through the Star Destroyer. Like that's just cool and fun, or even the lightsaber battle in the snow at the end.
But they gave you that with the Falcon going through the salt planet, which I was like, oh, here we go. The Falcon's gonna go through some tight fucking corridors again.
But see, I didn't think
Like
there
the
was
second Death
any.
Star movie.
I didn't think there was any action pieces in this movie that made me want that inspired me. I didn't think the action was very good.
Right.
That's a problem for me.
Even at the end when they're in the like okay, this casino planet opens up a whole new opportunity for action adventure, and I don't think that paid off.
I don't
didn't.
disagree with Snacks here. I think
and then at the end on the Salt Planet, when they're like, we're taking
It's-
these rickety
pretty
ass
fucking bad.
fucking, we're taking these rickety ass fucking ships, and we're going to go fight gorilla AT-ATs.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I am on board. Like, let's see how this shit goes down. And we just stop.
They don't do
You know,
anything. The skiffs don't do anything. But yeah, let's hear from
and again,
Jeff.
and again, when you guys are talking about a movie where it's like, fuck what you expect, and I'm like, oh shit, I go to Star Wars, I expect at least one or two good action scenes.
And I
you
feel
know?
like you got that.
I
yeah,
feel
I don't
like
know. I think that
I feel like I got a really good lightsaber fight.
I think the lightsaber fight.
Just one.
I think that the opening space battle is pretty good.
Yes.
Personally, I think that the
It's-
overall
It's a
conflict.
video game.
And Jeff, I think that opening battle would be better if there was characters I was already invested in
Mhm.
in that battle. And like as everybody just pointed out, Poe doesn't really do dick in the first movie. So
No.
I'm not really on board with Poe. And Dave's like, yeah, he shows up and makes a lame fucking joke.
Doug.
I'm even less on board with Poe. So it's like
I know what you're saying. I get you.
And this movie explicitly knocks Poe down a peg. It makes him learn. And so it's true. He is the one character that truly goes somewhere, that has to learn something, and you see that he learns it, right? So
I
that
think that
happens.
they all
but
learn.
I-
Yes, Jeff, thank you.
I
They
think
all
like
go
Ray,
through okay, so you can say what you want, but every character, all the main characters go through a journey. I didn't like
Yeah.
Finn's journey because
a little bit.
because Finn's journey, they like took a back seat. He's still a coward, which I didn't like.
He almost redeems
well-
himself, and then Rose ruins it. Yeah.
well,
I don't-
Jeff,
I think that like she doesn't ruin anything. I think she does for him what he does for Ray in the last movie, which makes lots of sense. Like that's thematically what they're all about to a certain
I guess
extent.
my-
That's
I guess
the
my bigger point-
self-sacrifice.
is how is explain to me like how you see the characters different from where they started at the start of this movie and where they ended this movie. Like just mainly Finn, Ray, Kylo, and Poe.
Can I do Poe, and then Jeff, you can take anybody else?
Yeah.
You're taking the easy way out.
Right.
Go ahead. With
Poe
All right.
learned not to be reckless. Lives matter.
Right.
Great.
He's like, at the end of the movie, and I can't get there, we'll just say, he's doing this for a reason. We need to get the fuck out of here. And then Finn, unfortunately, is the former Poe saying, no, we need to, there's a guy going out there by himself. We need to help him. And Poe's like, shut the fuck up. We need to get away because we're going to be the spark that lights that. Like it got through him.
Dave,
from
how's
Leia.
Finn different at the beginning than at the end of the movie? Just
Because
real
he's a headstrong
easy.
hotshot pilot that just thinks he wants to take on the First Order by himself, and that's exactly what he does at the beginning of the movie. And then he sees somebody else, i.e., Luke Skywalker. Spoiler alert.
And
do
Jeff,
the same
how's
thing.
how's Ray different?
Yes, you can take anybody else, Jeff.
Ray is different because she, is very naive, very arrogant in the beginning, and thinks that she knows how things are going to go, and that by the end of the movie, she's learned that although she's right in some ways, she's wrong in other ways. I think. And
I
that
think
she-
also the parents things. I think she's looking for a parent, and Kylo said it was Han Solo. Now it's Skywalker. Basically, you don't have any parents, and I think that's the hard lesson
I
she
think
learns.
she learns. I
Stop
think she
looking
learns
for
to
your
trust
parents.
herself,
Right.
and to not depend on others, and to have some sort of sense of self-reliance. Because her faith in father figures is going to continue to let her down, just like Kylo's faith in his lineage kind of, brings him to his end essentially. Like his whole thing is believing in this idea that he's greater just because he's a Skywalker, and he embraces that in the end. And I think the movie really kind of commits to him being a villain. Like you guys are talking about them having a romantic interest. I think that this movie pretty much neutralizes that, or at least should.
Yeah, that's what Megan said after the movie.
Yeah, it started,
They-
but
they
it
pushed
flirted
that in.
with that idea. Okay, so Rey comes back after she's like, "Fuck you, Luke Skywalker. You're not my real dad. I'm gonna go hang out with my boyfriend Kylo Ren. I think he can be. We need a Jedi, and he's our best hope. If you're not gonna do it, so she goes, and she basically light jumps and goes to see Kylo Ren, and of course Kylo Ren's got to take her to his boss, which is the new Emperor, this guy called Snoke. It's a dumb name, but it's a great character. I think Andy Serkis doesn't annoy me. And he basically is like, oh, we're going to turn you. No, you're too much of a Jedi. We're going to kill you, but not only are we going to kill you, I'm going to have Kylo Ren kill you. And there's this build-up whether Kylo Ren's going to kill her or not. And instead of not killing her, he actually kills the Emperor / this new Snoke guy. And then they team up and have a double badass lightsaber battle where they take on the Emperor's red clothed like space ninja guards, and it was great.
It also felt like a Target commercial for me for some reason.
It did.
Visually.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like a Gap Target commercial kind of a deal. So if you like those, this was great. It was a great lightsaber. I think
the Elvis
everybody
remix
agrees,
music didn't help. But
everybody agrees this is a good lightsaber or good action scene, right?
yeah, it's fine.
Fine. Okay, we'll talk more about that later, guys. All right, so at the same time, Laura Linney turns the ship towards... while everybody escapes to a planet that was an old rebel base, Laura Linney turns the ship. She was going to go down with the ship anyway, but because the code breaker that Finn picked up was a piece of shit and sold them out, Belicio del Toro, whatever his name is, he basically sells them out. Now they know that the rebels are trying to flee to this abandoned base, and they're just slaughtering them. So Laura Linney turns the ship around and light speed jumps through them all, and basically she kills herself but takes out like a fuckload of First Order people.
Coolest moment in the movie.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, sure.
It's just
Absolutely.
goddamn gorgeous.
It
It looks
amazing.
like a painting. It's gorgeous.
Visually was amazing. I wish I gave a half a shit about Laura Linney.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Moving on.
You don't even know the real name is Laura Dern.
Jeff, it's Laura Linney. Jeff, it is Laura Linney.
It's Laura Linney going forward.
In a purple wig.
I just checked IMDb.
So anyway,
Playing the part of Violet Beauregard.
So the rebels, and there's only 400 of them now, maybe less, a couple hundred of them down, go to this old abandoned rebel base and by rebel base we mean like an abandoned, it's a callback to the original trilogy, 30 years ago.
Hoth-esque looking.
It's very Hoth. It's snow, but just underneath the surface is red salt. And that makes for a very visually pleasing battle. Yeah. So Leia's down there, Finn's down there, Poe's down there. Eventually Rey shows up and provides some cover, whatever. Anyway, the bad guys are about to break in and kill everybody, and Luke Skywalker shows up out of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck? What is he doing here? He shows up and kisses his sister on the forehead, not the mouth, which what I was hoping for. I thought he was going to tongue fuck her right there and go like, there's still time for us. And then Luke Skywalker, Giant T, goes out of the rebel base where all these walkers, and it's just like the Planet Hoth where there were just this fuckload of walkers, and just Kylo Ren's there, and he walks out, and Kylo Ren's freaking out, getting all amped up. Is like, kill him, shoot every gun we have, fire on that man, that singular man, and they just fucking shoot the shit out of him. But then, like, once the smoke clears, he's still alive, and he comes forward. Kylo Ren's like, fuck that, take me down, I'm gonna kick his ass myself. Kylo Ren goes down there. There's a lightsaber scene in which Luke Skywalker's like, just like avoiding his like strikes, and he's talking shit the whole time, saying, I failed you as a student. And he's like, well, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill Rey, and I'm going to destroy all the Jedi. There'll never be another Jedi. And he's like, well, everything you just said is stupid. All right, so Luke Skywalker's just toying with Kylo. Kylo chops him in half, you think, but it turns out that Luke is not really there. He's just projecting himself there from his little island. And as set up earlier in the movie, the effort that one person doing that would kill them, and Luke Skywalker dies, but allows the rest of the rebels to get away. And by the way, there's only like 12 rebels now. And Rey is there. They all get away, and you're like, everybody learns their lesson.
Real quickly, right before this, they set off a beacon to the outer rim, to the whole galaxy for help, right?
And
in the name of Leia,
comes.
We need help. So that happens, and okay, go on.
Yeah, Leia says we're gonna send out a distress signal. We have allies. They're gonna come for us. Nobody comes for them. So it's all about self-reliance. Anyway, but it isn't about self-reliance because they get saved by Luke, who basically in one last dying act allows his friends to get away. Once again, self-sacrifice, but it's to save other people as opposed to destroy the people he hates. And it makes that Kylo Ren, I don't know. Let's end it there. We'll talk later.
Yeah. They get rescued on the Falcon. They fly away.
12 of them, 20 of them, whatever.
12 rebels, and they're now they call themselves rebels. They gave up on resistance. They're the rebels.
Yeah, which they should have done from the beginning. Just like New Order, it's basically the Empire. But anyway, and then they cut back to the last epilogue thing is they cut back to the casino planet, and there's paupers, beautiful children that have a little bit of smudges on their face, so they're poor and urchins. They're telling the story about Luke Skywalker facing down the entire First Order, and a kid, they get interrupted by their slave master or whatever. And the kid goes outside and he stares at the horizon and a ship going off, and he uses force pull to pull a broom. To him. Yeah. Yep. So basically, this kid is force sensitive. He's also a nobody. And it basically, he holds the broom like it's a lightsaber up to the sky, letting you know that, hey, even though Luke Skywalker's dead, what is dead may never die. There's going to be more Jedi. Right. New Hope.
Jedi will not die. Yep.
So, Johnny T, what'd you think?
Yeah. Good synopsis. So now we're all caught up, right? So now the movies will just be all these new people and other stuff, right?
No, next you get a Han Solo. Next you get a Han Solo flashback movie, John.
Yeah,
it's not new.
See, it keeps confusing me because they keep hopping around.
All right. Johnny T. There's
one. For old guys, dude. It's not for old guys.
There's one more movie in I will call it the Skywalker Star Wars saga. Everything else is gonna be other people and random shit. Including Rogue One and this new Han Solo movie that's coming out later next year.
Okay, all right. I'll just keep seeing them. Whatever.
But will you see this movie? Are you excited to see this movie based on what we said? Do you think it's going to be stupid?
Well, I thought I was going to hear kind of rave reviews from you guys, but it was a little bit more. I don't know. I guess it was a mixed bag. It seems like overall, if I were to ask you, would you go see it again?
I have.
Okay, I didn't expect that. Others?
No, I wouldn't.
I ended up seeing it again, but just because some plans came together, so I did. But
you guys are such better nerds than me, man. You guys are good nerds.
No, I was just more being a friend and wanted to join the party.
Jeff, will you see this again before it comes to home video?
Yeah, probably.
There you go. So I think we're split upon party lines, Tarzan. So that doesn't really.
Yeah, it's pretty split down the middle. I will say, we were talking during break. I will see the movie, that's for sure. But I guess now my expectations, because I'm, like I said, coming off of Rogue One, which was pretty fun and kind of a kick-ass movie. So I will not expect that here. But I'll see it. Whatever. It won't be the worst way to spend an evening.
I'm glad we didn't waste your time.
No, I guess this lasted probably just as long as that movie. So
you wish.
Exactly.
I'm already committed, I guess.
No, you got another hour and a half at least.
Yeah.
Damn it.
That's way too long.
Yeah, another hour. Yeah.
All right, Johnny T, we'll let you go, and the rest of us will continue to yell about the finer points of this movie.
All right, you guys have a good evening. Never invite me again.
Well, we will not. Take care.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Jeff, can I add? I'm going to keep harping on.
Yes, this is a shit show. Go ahead.
No, I'll harp on Rico. So Rico, one of the things I really like about other Star Wars movies is when they have parallel action, and it's what they did in Rogue One really well, where they have the fighter pilot shooting at that force field thing in space. They have the spy character climbing in the library with the robot, and then they have the people on the beach
Yep,
Yeah,
and
and
that
it's all,
guy
like,
trying to blow
You have
something up or
three
make
fronts,
the
all end of Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Right.
All whatever. Yep.
And it's like three fronts, but there's also usually like an emotional thing going on with one of the characters too. So it's like all compounded.
Mhm.
And this movie did not have that at all.
I mean, that's really not a characteristic of all the movies, though. It's in
Yeah.
Rogue One. It's in Return of the Jedi. That's kind of it.
And well, it tries to be in Phantom Menace. There's three fronts. They don't succeed
Really?
at being.
Oh,
No
yeah.
one
Yeah.
cares
And
about the
rapid
Gungan
Droids
fight.
and the Gungans that nobody gives
Yeah,
a shit
No one
about.
gives a shit.
Exactly. But there's like four fronts, and yeah. Anyways, but yeah.
Duel of the Fates, the lightsaber battle is the only one anybody gives a shit about.
Right. And that
Yeah.
one's very not personal, right? Like it's strangers fighting. So you go,
Right.
okay.
There's no
Fun,
emotion.
and it's
But again,
exciting. So there's that. going
Actually,
for
there
it.
was emotion when Qui-Gon Jinn got killed, and like Obi-Wan Kenobi's just like, I can't wait till this door comes open because I'm gonna fucking wreck you, and that's
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
That's such a great fight.
the argument that you guys are winning me over on it is that like is you guys are making me feel guilty about my expectations for this movie or any movie in general. And I don't know, man. Like I just want solid action. You know what I mean? Like a decent plot. Like if you're going to blow it up, but do it more cleanly than this, you know? It's really just a non-commit for me.
I think that I know what you're saying, and I think that the movie could have like blown it up and not still have these like kind of tethered tentacles to the franchise.
Yeah.
But
Disney
imagine,
has tethered it to what
like
you expect.
most of the people, how most of the people,
Oh,
Did we all get
like
disconnected?
people are
there?
already furious with this movie.
wait, what
Yeah,
was that?
I know.
Hello?
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah,
so you're
just
saying
repeat
Cut
the
out for
last
a
thing you
second.
said.
Oh, I said
Oh,
You
Jesus.
just cut out again.
We lost him again.
I said people
Check
are
your
already
connection.
furious with this movie.
so you're just saying that they're already pissed and they're just hedging their bets.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that they have to transition this. Like, this is such a beloved franchise that they can't just fucking like nuke it. And
Why
have
didn't they
that-
do that
I
last
think
movie?
they
Would be my
They
question.
should have.
I
They
agree
should have,
with
but
you
they-
I think they should
100%.
have fucking nuked it.
I
think
agree.
they should have fucking nuked it.
I didn't want any of the old cast members coming back. I wanted them to just be mentioned. Or maybe if Luke showed up as like a ghost, that would have been cool. But I didn't want, Harrison
It would
Ford
be
to come
better.
out.
When Kylo Ren doesn't pull the trigger on his mom and those other guys shoot her and it blows up, I almost cheered. I was like, yes, get them the fuck out of here.
Well,
Right.
I think that, I mean, the next movie, for whatever it's worth, if Leia's in it, obviously she's probably going to be in it very briefly. It's kind of ironic that she's the only one that is alive or is dead, but is alive
That's
in
an
the movie.
unfortunate just thing that they couldn't foresee.
And I'm sure Mark Hamill will be in it as like a fucking Force ghost or something.
He
Although
has to be.
I hope he's not. Honestly,
He will
because
be. There's no way. It's a
I'm
boardroom
sure.
decision.
I'm sure, and it's a J.J. Abrams thing too. Like he'll fucking be Force ghosting the shit out of that movie. I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. Like I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Like we talk about this all the time. We want like just different stories in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And I know that this isn't quite there yet. For me, it signaled at least a solid step in that direction. And I just got caught up in it. Like it's not perfect, but like it's
But emotionally, it hits you at moments. Right?
at moments, and
Yeah.
I think it's
And that's okay.
better than I expected it to be. Like I actually went in with fairly high expectations for some reason. I was excited about it, which is stupid in general.
Yeah, I don't think it's stupid to be excited about movies.
I don't think when you've been let down so many times before, my
Yeah.
expectations were very tempered.
I think that I don't really like most movies. I'll be completely honest, because I find them to be pretty disappointing in general. But I can't help get excited about Star Wars movies, because Star Wars is the thing that made me fall in love with movies. And I'm continually let down by them. Like I was let down to a certain extent by The Force Awakens, although all three I liked it. For the most part, I was really let down by Rogue One. I was very excited for Rogue One. I did not like Rogue One that much.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so
That's kind of surprising because
And
that
Jeff,
movie
this
was
is-
really stuck in a box. So I
And
thought
Jeff,
it performed pretty well considering.
yeah.
and I think this is when it comes to to particular tastes too, where like Rogue One didn't have the strongest characters, but it had good action. So I'm like, I really like the action of Rogue One.
I guess it had good action. Yeah, I don't know. In the end, maybe a little bit.
I liked it. I
watched
just thought it was disposable. I thought it was so one-off that I didn't want to watch it again. It came on Netflix.
It's the Titanic,
What was
right?
it? Yeah, I guess, but like
You
it was
know-
on Netflix, and I was like excited for it. But then I started on Netflix, and I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. Like,
I will say this for it. I wish that the guy. Well, here's a couple things. I wish that the guy who directed it directed this one. I wish that the guy who shot this one, because it certainly looks better.
Yeah.
In this
Yeah.
movie.
It
Although
feels
It's a
more Star
really
Wars.
fucking pretty movie. It
Yeah.
really is.
This
Rogue
movie
One
has-
is gorgeous looking, I think.
this movie has some nice set pieces in it and some nice design elements to it. Like I like the salt planet. I like the throne room that looks like Target. Even though it looks like Target. I like the contrast between the islands.
Well, I just like it because it all starts burning down. You're making a movie about burning things down, and when
That's
they're in the middle of that
exactly
fight,
right.
And then
It all
the character
catches on
says,
fire.
forget everything, burn it down. Yeah, literally. Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
But that said, I don't think Ryan Johnson's the best visual director.
Yeah.
He's also
So,
not
okay,
the strongest
real
writer.
quickly, as we're talking about Ryan Johnson, do we now feel he should launch a new trilogy
oh sure,
for Disney?
Fine, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
care.
I'm actually more excited about that than this. Whatever.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah, then
apprehensive.
J.J. Abrams.
I
Maybe.
agree. Just something all new, all different, zero.
I
expectation.
want
and
completely new. I agree there.
and one of the things that you guys, that this is probably a podcast for another day. I'm not a big fan of just about all the Harry Potter movies, and I really like the new one that didn't have anything to do with any books or shit.
The beastly, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And it was because it wasn't beholden to anything.
Mhm.
so
And-
you're okay. So you're actually making the argument. I think would side on our side, in which Star Wars is bigger than Luke Skywalker and the Skywalker line.
Absolutely. My argument is purely that they didn't go far enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
well I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Disney when they got it. And so for me, I was still a fan after the prequels. And I will accept every criticism of the prequels because they are warranted. But what I liked is that the backdrop, what the galaxy was still different. And we got a different picture. We went somewhere else. It wasn't
I
the
would
fucking
argue,
Galactic Empire. So I think because people didn't like that the acting was boring and all the shit was whatever, people threw out the baby with the bathwater a little bit, and I think Disney did too, to the point where they said, let's just reboot the old trilogy. And so I'm ready. I knew that Disney was going to get mired and stuck in nostalgia of Empire versus Ragtag Rebels. And so the second they get out of that, I'm going to be very happy.
and I will say I think that's what they're trying to do right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to talk about the throne room scene, which I think it was orgasmic, if I could dare say that, because I was just like, is he gonna do this? Is he gonna turn? Is he gonna fucking kill Snoke? There's no way. I'm like, they're setting Snoke up, and plus I was enjoying the fucking effects of Snoke. I was enjoying Snoke's character being like. At the same time, though, when they killed him, I was like, yeah, fuck, that guy deserves to die because he's just another emperor. We've seen this movie before. I want him to fucking die. I don't want to see, like you said, Jeff said, I don't want to see Return of the Jedi again. And when he killed him,
Yeah.
it was orgasmic, and he brought the sword, and the sword went right to her hand. And I was just like, oh, they're going to kill all these people, and then they're going to fuck. These two hot, powerful
Right.
people are gonna fuck right now, and it's gonna be awesome. And it was awesome. It was great.
And again, again, you guys are fucking me up with me having expectations about things. I feel like it would serve the next movie better if she took his hand, because that's unexplored
agree.
territory.
I
That's
agree.
unexplored.
Real
That's
throwing it.
unexplored.
Or if he was willing to like negotiate with her. He wasn't willing to
No,
negotiate with her. I wanted them to team up for longer. I really did.
I get the impulse of wanting that, but I think that isn't really a good thing to want.
But once
I
they
mean,
went
you
the way
have-
they went, you're just
you
like,
have-
it's back to fucking Return of the Jedi.
Exactly.
How
And this goes
on
to Steve's
earth
point
can they
about
go
like
somewhere-
returning to
I don't
good guys
think
and
so.
bad guys.
I think
Right.
that Well,
They shit the bed with potential.
Here's the thing.
Right.
Like
That's exactly what I'm saying.
the Return of the Jedi is. Should you? Let me ask you this: do you guys think that she is going to try to turn him in the next movie? Is that going to be the confrontation?
I don't think. I think everybody's given up on him, but I think he will turn. I don't know why, but because everybody's given up on him, that's why I think he's going to turn.
Do we think he's going to redeem himself before he dies?
Yes.
I think she's.
Is that the question?
Absolutely.
No, I think
she's going to try to put him.
I think that's the different story this time. Is that I think she's going to kill him. I think she's going to have to kill him.
The
Series out
Megan,
from the last one is that. Sorry, go ahead.
the Megan doesn't think at the end of that scene. The Megan, being the big fan of Chicklet that she is, thinks it's over. That there are not. There's no more relationship trying to happen
right.
there.
I agree.
100% right.
Yeah.
And she also doesn't think he's a threat at all. And they go out of their way to show him as a whiny bitch.
Mhm.
And they never go out of their way to show him as a threat. So after 2 movies of this guy getting his ass owned and pissing and moaning, he's not enough of a heavy in this next movie unless something happens in between.
Here's where I disagree. He's a threat because he's not that good at being a threat.
No, that's the argument I gave her.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're doing so Vader was an imposing physical threat, right? So if you want to make this guy a manipulative, insidious, sneaky threat, that's a fucking fake idea. A great idea. That's
but right now he's just unstable.
You're comparing him to Vader. He is not Vader. That's the whole point of the character. Right. That he's not Vader.
But that's what
I'm saying. But he's not
there's no brains behind this operation.
Exactly, which is why he's more dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a great point, Jeff. But I don't think they've shown that yet. If they show they use that impulsiveness to get comedy. They haven't shown that impulsiveness to show danger.
I think that they're starting to show it at the end in the final sequence on the Salt Planet.
But he's still predictable.
Of course he is.
But then he shoves Hux, and I don't know. It came.
Yeah,
if that's what they're trying to show, that he's super lethal or super dangerous because he's unpredictable. I don't feel like that came across.
But he's the most predictable thing on Earth. There's nothing unpredictable about him.
I think the reason that he's predictable again is what makes him dangerous. That's what makes him so manipulative or manipulatable with Snoke, right? Like that he's clearly got this insecurity that Snoke exploits over and over and over again to the point where he just gets so fed up that he says, "I'll show you how fucking vulnerable I am," and he kills him.
All right,
he doesn't kill. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to point out because Snoke, he basically he introduces another theme where he's just Hux comes in and he's leaving, and it's very similar to the Force Awakens, and he's like, "Very good, Hux, great, tied on a string, great." And this is when Snoke learns that Snoke has developed this tracking through hyperspace, and he's like, "You see that? You wonder why I keep a bloodthirsty cur in such a position of power, because I know his weakness and I can manipulate him, and he's a dangerous tool." But the thing is that sets up Snoke's demise, because Snoke's fucking weakness, or that's his name, right? Snoke. His fucking weakness
Ebenezer
is
Snoke.
Arrogance. He's just so fucking it's no no Christmas for you. But his fucking his arrogance is his weakness, and that's what Kylo Ren takes advantage of. But Kylo Ren doesn't learn the greater point that he has a weakness that he needs to overcome.
Because it's all vanity.
Yes.
That's the thing with Sith. It's the fucking same thing. It's the vanity of thinking, I can rule. I'm good enough. I'm the one. Why am I not the one that's in charge of the fucking galaxy? And so that's, even that in and of itself is like a tired through line.
Right. But do you think if there was a partnership between Kylo and Rey, if they indulge that, do you think Rey would make him better and Kylo would make her worse, and it would kind of even out in kind of like a balance or boring way, or just interesting way?
It would become a marriage.
Yes, exactly.
I was interested in it, just the potential of it, just because it was different. I
agree.
don't know where it could go. And maybe
really, I agree. If she would have accepted his hand, that would have really actually made me go, all right, this movie's really going somewhere.
But why? What's motivated out of that from the characters in the story? Like, I don't get it. Why is that a preferable action?
Well,
and here's one more question.
The second he becomes Darth Vader-y and saying, hey, you and I could rule the galaxy as shitheads. Yeah, I get why she says, oh, fuck you.
Right, I agree.
And that's a point that I didn't. Megan had to explain that to me afterwards because I
do need the woman's perspective here. It's just, it's really true. Yeah.
Because I didn't think he was like saying like, hey, let's rule the universe together. I thought he was saying, fuck all this, let's go get lost. And I was yeah, fuck all this, go get lost. And she's like, oh no, he was saying like, hey, come, let's rule the universe together. And I was like,
I feel like if he would have saved her friends, and she's like, as soon as they kill everybody, she's like, oh, we still call them off. Like, you're my boyfriend, right? Call them off. My friends are dying. And if he would have done it, he would have shown like I guess like, let's throw all this away. Sure, I don't care. Like, why would he care? Yeah, you can save those people. It's all fucking, who cares anymore? And the fact is that he's like planting his foot in the sand on one side, and she's planting her foot on the sand on the other side.
Right, and that's why it becomes same old shit.
I agree. So I agree with you. I wanted that, but the thing is that's ripped away from us too. It's all about you, like fucking you over as an audience member. It's brutal. This movie is brutal, which is why I say it's not a fun movie, but I enjoyed the shit out of it.
And again, what I'll say is that episode 7 set us up in this muck. We got stuck in it because they fucking put us back to the old trilogy.
Right, it's their fault.
And you can't escape it.
Right.
What are you gonna? You can't climb out of it in this trilogy.
But that's
you can climb out of it in another trilogy.
But that's why I say it's like BioShock Infinite. It's the same thing over and over again, and you're kind of trapped in it. But at least it plays out a little bit differently in this movie compared to The Force Awakens.
I don't know.
I'm just going to hold it against The Force Awakens.
I think this movie made it different. I think this movie established a different trilogy.
It's trying to, but at every turn, it's consciously saying, "Oh, people are used to this scene going this way, so we'll do it the other way." And the whole time, it's still, I don't know. You know, you get what I'm saying? They need to change the entire scenario.
Half of your argument is that it does the same thing. So, like, I don't understand. Like sometimes you guys are saying that, like, I don't know.
No, my only argument is that
didn't go far enough.
Yeah, I wanted them to go all the way. I wanted them to go all the way. I understand, like, you guys are like, there's a boardroom, there's money to be made. You can't go all the way with Star Wars. And my argument is that you make a risk.
You have to.
You make a risk. It's Star Wars. People are going to go anyways. You're not going to turn them off so much that they're not going to go.
Take risks, though. I really do.
But when does a Star Wars movie cease being a Star Wars movie? Which would be my question to you guys that want to go further. Do you want it so far that it's just like, do you want like a Star Wars noir film? I would like that. I agree, but not.
I think they
not
can
with the baggage of an episode 8. The problem,
movies.
yes, exactly. That's exactly right. As a side quest. Or as like a Rogue One or Han Solo movie, absolutely.
Yeah. Anthology movies, they can fucking do whatever they
want.
But
unfortunately, I think they have to put this shit to bed. After episode 9, I think it will be a fucking free-for-all. Let's hope.
I hope so. Mm-hmm. I hope so.
Because they need to find a new tone.
Well, no, but that's the thing. It's like comics. You can do anything you want.
Exactly. And I don't like, and let's talk about, because it is Marvel is owned by Disney. I don't like the merging of the different worlds. I like the Earth Marvel characters, and I like the cosmic Marvel characters kind of doing their own thing. And I don't like this. Like, I'm just not gonna like Infinity. Well, I liked Thor, but I don't know. I've always had a problem with these mixing. Like, the world's so big, just let these things happen in their own fucking place.
Did you like Civil War?
I did, but I think it was more of an Avengers movie than it was a Captain America movie, even though he was at the center of it.
This is about to be another Avengers movie.
I agree, but it'll be fun, but I just...
You just liked Civil War because Thor wasn't there?
I know. I like Thor. I like Civil War, but like upon rewatch, Civil War, I couldn't get into it. Like, it was boring and it was overlong.
My favorite thing about the plot of Civil War.
Yeah, lay it on us.
they got to wake up the super soldier to kill 2 old people in a car.
Right.
I just this like super villain like
Yeah, that's so silly.
fucking outfit, and they're like, "Hey, we got to kill these 2 old guys in a car. What are we gonna do? We got to wake up the most dangerous soldier in the world."
Right. And you know, it was just
sleep.
about like,
So
how do we get
conveniently-
these 2 people to fight? And that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, working backwards from the end.
Yep.
Hey Rico, give me a elevator pitch for Star Wars movie, like a sentence.
Oh God, I don't have one.
I got
lined
one.
up.
I got one.
All right, give it to me, Dave.
All right, Doug. A Jedi goes crazy, and he has to be put down a la, what is it? Apocalypse Now /
Oh, you want to do Apocalypse Now in space?
yes,
I got it.
whereas like a Jedi just goes to a planet, is worshipped as a god, and lives in the
Yeah.
forest, and
That's
then they
good.
have to send
That'd
like
be a good
people
one.
from the Jedi Academy to go take him down.
Yeah,
Mine's really different.
Yeah, mine's really different too.
It's bar wars, and they're just like these drunks in a bar, and
Oh
they're-
yeah,
Oh,
The bars-
just going for comedy.
yeah. We talked
I'm
about
going,
this one.
I'm going for
Yeah.
comedy. They're just a bunch of sad sack drunks, and they're going to lose their bar, and so they plan a heist just to get enough money to buy their bar back from the Empire.
Oh,
It's like it's like an Always Sunny sort of plot.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I am doing Rio Bravo. I want to do Rio
Nice.
Bravo in space.
But I love how you guys are saying like you want something different. You got Apocalypse Now and fucking real.
But the thing that I
It's
think we
different for
like
the
about
genre.
Star Wars is that it clings on to other tropes and it clings on to other genres. And you go, oh, this is the version. So that's why when they went to Casino Land and it was fucking lazy as shit, I went,
I haven't
if you're
seen
gonna
Rio
do it,
Bravo
mean,
Star
it's
Wars yet, Jeff. I guess that's the difference.
It's always been a little bit like that to a certain extent. I mean, it's,
Do you
It
think
is
we
in
had? Do you think
I was
Rogue
there.
One? Let me ask you this: do you think Rogue One was a little bit a wild bunch in Star Wars? Like I know they're not kicking ass and taking names. It's more of like we need to accomplish a task, but it's similar.
I mean, similar, like a Dirty Dozen, Suicide Mission Team,
Right.
sure.
yeah.
That's why I do have hope for the expanded universe, and that's my. If I had to like end this with a thesis, I would say that the Star Wars universe is bigger than this fucking inherited storyline that we have to keep up with. Just let's have one-offs. Let's have Rogue Ones. Even though, like I said, I think Rogue One, looking back on it, is a little disposable. I'm not going to watch it over and over again like I did, 4, 5, and 6. I still enjoyed the shit out of it when I saw it.
Right.
And I would love
It's-
all these what if kind of like comic movies with the backdrop of fucking laser swords or the Empire or whatever. I don't know. I like this universe and I want to play. And let me just say there was a friend of mine, I think his name was Snacks, who when Rogue One came out said it's like somebody was playing with Star Wars toys. Like somebody said, "Hey, here's all these Star Wars toys. What is your imagination to come up with?" And this is what somebody came up with. And I feel like that's what happened with Rian Johnson here. It's just that he inherited this like lineage of the Skywalker saga. So like I feel like we had expectations, but it's just a guy fucking playing with Star Wars toys and saying, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if those fucking red guys that we saw in fucking Empire or not Empire
actually had a
actually
fight.
fucking got to kick
Return
ass."
of the Jedi.
Yeah, I wanted to see the fucking Imperial Guard kick ass, and guess what? We got to see basically what they were, kick ass. I don't know. I liked it a lot.
One of them had a lightsaber nunchuck, which I really appreciated. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, I also like how murderous BB-8 was.
Oh yeah, he killed fucking a shitload of stormtroopers. They're not clones or
Yeah.
anything. They're
now
people
they're kids
just
that were stolen from their land when they were young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're Finns.
They're
One of their-
Finns.
one of their hero used to be one. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and can we talk about Phasma just being a fucking complete waste in this movie as well as the first one?
Let's bring her back to make her a fucking
At least she's
waste
hopefully
anyway.
dead now. Yeah.
I
like,
hope. Jesus.
Baby.
Fucking Gwendolyn Christie.
I feel like that's the problem, and maybe Snacks will agree with me, is that the next movie can just do whatever it wants and fucking bring back whoever and just, like I think there's way too much freedom in the next movie, but in a crippling way, in a very they're still stuck having to what's going to happen in the end. the good has to prevail, right? Are they going to finish out this trilogy where the good guys don't win? I would be fine if all the good guys died. I wouldn't give a shit. I go, great. I would actually clap. But that's not going to happen.
Well, I guess I'm all
It'd be the
for
same shit
That's,
at the end.
that pretty much happened in this movie.
I'm excited that there's only one person from the original trilogy still
Original
affecting
trilogy.
this
And
new
you
movie.
know
Yeah,
that
exactly.
person is going
And
to
she's
die.
dead.
You know she's dead in
And-
real life, so she's going to
And
die
they
in the
have
next film.
said that they won't CGI her.
Right.
So if we hold to that, then she's dead off camera, I guess.
This is a
They're
discussion
going to
for
use some of her deleted scenes from this movie. They said,
Yeah.
to set up her death.
They've
And
recorded.
this is a discussion for another day.
She
But
has diabetes.
I was curious how you guys thought the movie might have changed because of her death, because I feel like some characters got rearranged, even though they have said like nothing has changed.
Yeah, I
You
don't.
know-
I don't believe them either, Snacks. So I'll agree with you, but I think whatever they did worked without being cheesy. Like I think it was. I don't think it was Rob Bricken, but I think it was somebody who said like, we didn't get fucking Paul Thomas Anderson riding in a race car next to Vin Diesel or The Rock or whatever.
Right.
Like we didn't get one of these like cheesy send-offs for Leia.
Right.
But I think we had several like goodbye to Leia's. Like when Luke is like, astral projecting and he's just there and he gives her the dice, which I didn't know dice existed, guys. I had to look that shit up.
Yeah. What is
Right.
Oh, I'll tell you in a second. But
They were always there
Hey,
on
shut
set,
up. Let me just
but-
tell him what happened. Let me
Okay,
just
go
finish
ahead,
my
go
thought
ahead,
and you can
go
tell
ahead.
what the dice are about. But like Luke comes up to her and is just like, hey, even if they're dead, they're never really gone or something. And then like, oh, the weight of that fucking scene is added to the fact that we know as an audience that Carrie Fisher is dead. So I thought that was really impactful. I liked it a lot, but it didn't seem cheesy. I don't know. All right, Rico, hit us with the dice.
So the dice don't really exist visually in any of the movies, right? But what I have, barely read about it is that they were dice that were hanging in one of the cars in American Graffiti, and they ended up on the Falcon. Because every car has dice hanging off their rear view mirror.
Oh, and they're like in the background. So is that
No,
is it
they're
more of a-
actually
is it
they're
more of
on
a is it
screen.
more of a bridge to the Han Solo movie then?
Yes,
Probably.
yes,
That's a good
absolutely.
point. Probably.
Absolutely. I 100%.
That will probably feature heavily. Yeah.
Because I didn't recognize it, but then like I watched the video and they're like, hey, there's a scene from The New Hope, and you're like, hey, there's this crap that's in the frame for like a second.
You're right. Yeah, right.
So they're blowing up the significance of something that us as Star Wars fans that have seen all these movies a ton of times are like, I don't remember those dice.
Yeah, right. But because you go, oh, well, mega fans know that they exist. So then they have importance because of that. And they're trying to. And so that was a funny thing is that in this movie, they wanted to really say, hey, these dice are really important. And, as a 99% of fans go, I don't know, fucking never seen this shit before ever. Yeah.
I mean, you see him.
You get it? You go, okay, fine. I
He
get
literally picks them up off the ship. I think that they're
you
a symbol of something. It's not like they're like, what are these mystery dice?
They're a symbol of Han, but the
He
problem
fucking
is
picks
that
them up. Like,
yeah, and he gives them to Leia when he says, we're never really gone, and he's speaking about Han, but as an audience, we don't associate the dice with
they
the
have no
Millennium
value
Falcon.
to us.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
associate the dice of the Falcon, and she probably knows what they are because she was in the Falcon. All
Yeah,
the
but
time.
we
I
don't
think that's
know
the
that.
point.
We don't know that from the original trilogy.
But you see, it doesn't matter. I guess.
No,
you guys
but this is
are
our
arguing
argument.
the same thing. Everybody gets the information across. They understand the scene,
Yes.
but it's. I think
There's
what they're
no
arguing is
emotional significance.
exactly that.
Right.
that
I
added
guess
value to
maybe
it.
he should have handed her a miniature Millennium Falcon.
I think if you would have handed her the holographic chess game, she would have got it. Like, thump. Here's the holographic chess game from the Millennium Falcon. You remember that, right? It's just fucking arbitrary, yes, and I 100% think it's going to be in the fucking Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is my last point about them not really burning anything down. Yoda shows up He's like, fuck that.
We didn't talk
tree.
about Yoda. Yeah, we
He's
have
like,
to talk about that.
He's like, fuck that tree, fuck those books. It all doesn't matter.
But he knows
Absolutely.
it does.
Yoda's the voice of
but-
wisdom. The only thing that was missing out of the Yoda scene
But, Jeff,
was Yoda
I'm not done.
smoking, Yoda
well, I'm not
smoking a
done.
joint, being like, "Lighten up, Luke."
But
Chill,
Jeff,
man.
All right. Snacks. Finish your
Welcome
thought.
to eternity, bitch.
But then when they're hanging out in the Millennium Falcon,
Yeah.
and Finn like opens that drawer,
Yeah.
probably to get his dice that we'll see in 4 movies from now. Those fucking books are there. So it's
Yeah.
like we didn't burn down anything.
Yoda trolled Luke.
Yes, because Luke needed not only so Luke's entire fucking arc was came down to 2 things. R2-D2 showing him the fucking hologram of his sister asking for help from Ben Kenobi, which is basically what Luke is now, a fucking hobo in a goddamn garbage pit. And then the second thing was and then the second thing that motivated Luke Skywalker to sacrifice himself was Yoda fucking burning it down and tricking him and thinking that, it was all was lost, there's nothing to live for. Basically whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Where
I
did
think the key
R2-D2
line
go?
was just on the ship.
He was on
I
the
think
he was on the
the
Falcon
Falcon.
when they went back to the ice
Because
planet.
he had the other half of the map to find Luke Skywalker. So he ended up on the Falcon.
I think the key line from Yoda is about how that your pupils surpass you, right?
Yep.
And so I think what happens is that she steals the books, and he's all bent out of shape about them, and she's like, I'm gonna keep this going, and part of that's her belief that Luke's pretty much useless to her because he refuses to do anything,
Yep.
and that her hope is that she can turn Kylo, and that together they will fight the First Order. So she, in my opinion, she definitely takes the books, but I think that the importance of the books at the same time is essentially the movie and Yoda and eventually Luke saying that they're not that important because in the grand scheme of things, they didn't really do that much for anybody. They just made things worse.
Right. Plus, what existed before the books? Just people
Right.
that were in touch with the Force and made it up as they went, which will happen again, which will be fine.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Those books are important.
I won't get into this point because I'm going to go into prequel shit. And no one
Go
wants to
for it.
hear
No, go for it. This is where we do it.
Okay.
Are you talking about that library? Are you going to fucking talk about that library?
The archives. No, what I'm going to talk about is the fact that what's part of canon, aka the prequels, is that the Jedi, while they were very narrow-minded and dogmatic, and they were less open for some shitty Sith that's politically smart to overthrow them, they grew hundreds and thousands of Jedi over a millennium, and none of them turned to the dark side until Sidious, crept up, right? So what we're saying is...
Do we even know
Darth-
Sidious's backstory?
There's Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis turned Darth Sidious.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
do we know
exactly.
that?
So
but
until
everybody,
Plagueis
shut up,
and
please. Let me ask that
the
question.
Jedi are not... they're not infiltrated until that point. So
I
they go in millennium.
Oh, that's
Look-
not true either, though, because
Wait.
it's not like Plagueis was the first
Hey guys,
Sith.
can we? Let me. I've heard this Plagueis sound, this noise coming out of people's faces before, and it doesn't exist in any of the movies. So I am not one of these people.
No, it
who,
does.
It does.
in
It's in
episode
Revenge
3.
of the Sith.
Well, he says that this guy trained me and I killed him. He's like, this is
Well,
what the Sith do is they only have one apprentice. And that's it. They don't train armies of followers like the Jedi
Because
do.
everyone wants to turn against each other. Yeah, right.
Right,
The
so-
Sith are inward. They're selfish. So you can't have more than 2 Sith.
Right. So they alluded to
master
this
and
guy.
apprentice.
Yes. So they alluded to the fact that, the Emperor was trained by somebody else and he killed him.
Yeah.
But I feel like we don't get much more than that.
Yeah,
we?
only that they had existed for however long, but they stayed out of the picture. And
Right.
meanwhile, the dogmatic
There's only 2 of them at a time. Why
Jedi
wouldn't they stay out
that
of the
were
picture?
living in ivory towers. Literally, they were in ivory towers. I think Lucas didn't go far enough to say that the Jedi were set up for fall, right? He set it up, but he didn't knock it down to say, yeah, the Jedi are fucking blind, essentially. They're so stuck in their ways. They're the Roman Catholic Church, whatever you want to say. but there's value in that where they knew where to go with the Force and where not to go with the Force. And so if you burn those texts, I think you get a bunch of fucking people that immediately will turn to the dark side.
I don't know about that, Eric.
Because
Yeah,
on their own
I don't know
volition.
about that, Eric.
Eric is so
People
I
are
was
garbage.
You have faith in people when they see their potential and see the power. I think Yoda even is like, fucking Luke, don't leave right away because you're gonna fucking turn. The only reason Luke doesn't turn in the old trilogy is because he literally looks at Darth Vader's robot hand and can look at his own and go, oh shit, I was this close to turning, but I see my dad in front of me and I see his failure. That's the only thing that saved him.
That's the point of this movie too, is learning from your mistakes.
Yep.
But Rey she's not tempted. You don't see any temptation.
Yeah, I agree. But they tell you, but they don't show you, and I think that's a problem. They're like, you went right to the dark side. I can't like Luke had that whole thing where it's like, you didn't even resist the dark side, and she's like, it had something I needed. I want to learn about my parents, and I'm like, I don't get that at all. Like, I don't understand her being evil. The one hint of her being evil was when she got into that fucking like stick fight with Luke Skywalker, she called the lightsaber and almost struck him down in anger. That's as close as I feel they showed her getting to the dark side.
I think that you see it before in The Force Awakens when she fights him, that she's sort of not afraid.
Pissed off.
Yeah, she's not afraid.
She uses her emotion.
She does that in the throne room, though. She does that in the throne room. She's like, ah.
I know. I agree.
And I think that's part of her
you
character,
agree?
original
Well, then
canon
that
in
neutralizes anything I was going to say.
I just want to go back to Eric's rambling insanity.
Rico.
Jesus Christ, Eric.
I'm drunk. Just I don't give a shit. Go for it.
Nothing. Man, I thought I was a Star Wars guy, but you were deep in the mythology, my man.
Does anybody
I'm
read
a
like
fan
extended universe scrap?
Before Disney bought Star Wars, I want that to sink in because I don't think there were many fans right before Disney bought Star Wars.
Yeah, they lost me.
Yeah, they lost me because of the prequels. I thought this
there.
is garbage. Like the Sith, like Revenge of the Sith. I was like, that was not as bad as the previous ones. And that's where I was as a Star Wars fan. And I had hope when Disney bought it because I was like, please somebody, like it's just like, please somebody make these movies better. Because I think that the prequels were a fucking disaster. And anybody, please feel free to disagree with me. There were moments.
We don't need to go down that road. This will be 3 hours of us chatting and me trying to convince people that it had potential, but George Lucas was terrible with actors. He's an introvert. Everything that's wrong about Lucas. What I said before, all I'll say about the prequels is that I think Disney, because of the backlash to the prequels, has thrown out the bathwater. Has thrown out the baby with the bathwater.
I'll agree with that.
The bathwater. What?
They've thrown out the Jedi books with the bathwater.
Right.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Disney is trapped now in nostalgia berries. They're stuck in the same fucking shit. And now, I know, after 5 or 6 movies, they're going to crawl out of it. And because Kathleen Kennedy knows she has to go in different directions.
Yep.
But Lucas was fine to give us a very different backdrop in the prequels. He just failed in the surface level, and so the movies were fucking.
Yeah, because it was hubris.
You can really make an argument that a trilogy of prequels to an already established, trilogy isn't.
You knew where it was going to go, but he gave you a galaxy that was very different, and frankly, had much more flavor. Where in the prequel trilogy and during the Clone Wars, I will argue always that there looks like more potential in that galaxy than any galaxy that's controlled by the Empire or the First Order. Those galaxies are really boring because they're all controlled by a fascist.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? Rico, I'm looking forward to Disney retconning the Old Republic and doing Old Republic stories. I'm looking forward to that because George Lucas fucked it up, and I think he fucked it up because of no one called him in check. I sent Snacks a fucking video about. I didn't know that the original Star Wars, not The New Hope, Star Wars, the first movie that came out, won an Oscar for editing. And George Lucas, the woman who won the editing award was his ex-wife. And
Jeff, you'll like this part too. Brian, they showed an early cut to Spielberg and Brian De Palma.
Yeah,
and Brian De Palma's like
trash.
He's like, "What the fuck is this garbage?"
Mhm.
So I will say that like an editor's touch or other people collaborating and telling him, no, you can't do this.
He needed no, and he didn't get that in the prequels.
We
I
all
accept
agree.
that.
Yes,
that's
agree.
not my point.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you weren't going to get that with George Lucas. Like if George Lucas is like, okay, I've done the prequels now, guys. Now I'm going to tackle what happens after Return of the Jedi. It would have been worse than this. It would have been worse than
wouldn't have
Force
wanted
Awakens.
him to touch again. Okay, here's the thing. If you really want to get, and no one really understands where I'm coming from ever with this, and I think it's because I'm coming from just my love of movie. I think Snacks talked about his humor when we all talked about what do we love about movies, and for me, I was like, I love this. I love the place I go. I love the ships. I love the fucking scenery. I love the props. I love the costumes. That's where George Lucas can excel because he knows how to take artists like a fucking Walt Disney, get him in a room, push them towards a direction, and he doesn't give a shit. There's no sacred shit for him visually. He goes, this story needs this direction, that story needs that direction. For me, and what I loved about Star Wars, half of it, literally half of it,
the stuff
was the backdrop.
Yeah.
And so Episode 7 said this backdrop is going to be the same fucking shit.
Right.
And so this whole trilogy is hung on the same goddamn backdrop. And no matter how much these movies try to subvert our expectations, it's still stuck in Empire versus Rebels. And where do you go with that? Other than, this time the Empire wins.
Yeah, I agree.
Eric,
but
I think I
surprise people.
Rico, I think I agree with part of your argument here. Not necessarily the Rebel versus Empire. I think everybody wants that kind of conflict to be open and a new conflict introduced to the stories or whatever. Right. But my argument your argument that I find fascinating is that you felt in those prequels there were so many more doors open and so many more directions to go that it got your imagination going. That you saw like, what's the robot guy with 6 arms and all the lightsabers or whatever?
Grievous.
Right, but you
Robot.
But you saw
what'd you call it?
Darth Robot.
But you saw that guy and you were like, oh God, there's such potential there.
Right.
Where I want to know more about his adventures. And I do feel like that's something that is in the prequels and in the original movies where you would get figures for Walrus Man. You would get, like, I remember seeing that squid guy in the prequels, and I'm like, what's his fucking deal? I want to know all about that guy.
Right. Prune face. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I would say, like, the new movies don't have that. And I think you're absolutely right. It's a one direction bullet train, as opposed to, like, opening all these other doors and expanding the universe.
Mm.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, to the point where right now, Disney and these new movies are saying we need diversity, right? And not like the prequels, every main character is like a fucking white person, whatever. But you see alien upon alien, you go, oh, this is a diverse fucking giant universe, right? With endless potential. And so the fact that Disney goes, well, but people didn't like those movies, so we have to scratch it. And here we are with the same, like, they're going back to the storyline that had no money.
That's where you lose me a little bit, Rico, because you're assuming a giant corporation's making a choice that you weren't in necessarily on that. That could just be a creative decision too.
The original trilogy has what it has. Well, the first movie has what it has because they barely strung a movie together. They had no budget. They had no whatever. You're right. And then from there, they launched and they moved forward. They got a little more money every fucking time, and it became this giant thing. Whatever. We don't need to go down that road, but for me, it's just I don't need the same goddamn shit. And right now, Disney's stuck in it.
I agree, but like they just took over. Like I will just always go back to the business decision, and I see both of your points, and it could just be a creative decision. But I feel like this is an argument that we'll have 6 years from now, 7 years from now, when there's a new Star Wars movie coming out every fucking year in this fucking saga, and I think we need to stop thinking of it as this trilogy, because really it is this. What is the Latin word for 9? You guys suck. This is like a long saga.
You don't know it either.
Yeah, I don't know it either, but I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, you can't call it this trilogy because it has the baggage of the prequels and it has the baggage of the original films. And once they get past this, yes, they can open it up. And it'll just be like the Marvel Universe. Once again, like, it waxes and wanes. Like, let's look at the Marvel Universe. There's been good movies and there's been fucking ridiculous, terrible, boring movies. Like, I didn't like Thor 1, I didn't like Thor 2, I liked Thor 3. So I think that's going to be the way it's going to be with the Star Wars films.
They just need to untether themselves.
And I feel like they will now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like to my Jeff's point and my point, this goes towards making that happen.
Yes. That's
all right,
fine.
great. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Okay, so let's talk about this for another 3 hours. All right.
Let me know when you stop recording, just so I can shoot the shit off the record.
Yeah. Okay. So let's end this. Before I do, thank you guys. If anybody is, I don't think anybody's gonna listen to this, but you guys and me listening to this back. But
we got to work on formatting for this show.
We do. But anyway. What's the
I like
next
that we just
movie you're
lost
excited?
The dummy this time. The dummy just gave up. The dummy is like, I'm out, guys.
I think we should do.
But
What's that show on ESPN where the sports commentators talk, but there's a timer
around the horn? I don't know what.
Yeah, like we should do that where you get like, bzz, and then like a person gets to reply, and then bzz, and a person gets a reply.
It sounds a lot of work for that's a lot of work for the host, and I don't think I'm going to do that.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how do we keep it under 45 minutes? How do we make it swallowable?
I think we do any other movie besides a movie that we have like emotional ties to, like the Star Wars franchise.
We can split it up into 2 parts.
I don't know. What I want to bring up is what's the next movie you're excited about in the theaters or on Netflix or anything? What's in your wake? What's in your queue? I don't know any Hollywood movies that are coming out that I'm like excited about.
I have rentals that I'm excited about. I haven't seen the Autopsy of Jane Doe. I kind of want to see that.
Anybody else?
No, I don't know. Is Jeff there still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, he's here.
Are you excited for any films?
There's a bunch of shit I want to see right now, but I don't know if you guys would want to see. Like, I want to see The Disaster Artist.
I do want to see that.
Really?
Yeah,
I can wait.
Yeah, I can wait too. And I hate movies that would best be told as a documentary as opposed to a drama.
Well, it's best told as a book. It was a book that the actor wrote. And it's a very good book. And trust me, I was very dubious about the movie. Like I
haven't seen The Room.
Oh, I haven't seen it either.
Okay. But hey, let's do this about The Room, guys.
Okay, do you want to do? Hey,
there you go.
Let's do The Room. Okay, that'll be the next podcast. You guys can.
Is it somewhere easy to access?
I'm sure we can steal it pretty quickly.
Much everywhere. Yeah.
If you have some kind of ethical problem about piracy, I will buy the movie. Just take my word for it and send it to you.
Sounds good.
Hey guys, I can fire off a few that are on like Redbox. Like I want to see that Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets.
Yeah,
I watched that one. Okay, so we can talk about that movie.
Yeah,
I want to see.
Talk about that.
I'll talk about it.
I want to see the Dunkirk.
And
I'll watch that too.
And I want to see Brawl in Cell Block 99.
I want to see that one.
Who's in that one?
Vince Vaughn.
What?
But he's
it's a prison fight.
amazing in it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And The Foreigner with Jackie Chan and Pierce Brosnan.
Oh, I want to see the Foreigner
I'm
too.
a little. Yeah, yeah.
I forgot about the Foreigner.
These
Is
are
it
all
still playing?
these are all
It's,
Redbox, man. We can just watch these whenever.
All right, guys, watch all those movies, and we'll fucking podcast about one of them in the next 2 or 3 months or so. All right, guys, I can't thank you enough. This was more civil than I thought it would be. I understood we were going to have.
Hated it. I hated it.
Yeah,
I was
loved
mediocre
it.
with it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. I was like,
loved it.
meh.
I loved it. I
was
thought it was wish
Oh
fulfillment.
no, I was talking about the podcast, not the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
I want to dugout, let it rip. You know.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's very hard to, like, I hear something and I want to respond to it, and it's hard to sit there and.
And I appreciate you, Snacks, making references to a bar that nobody listening would ever understand what that means.
Should we, when it's a passionate movie, should we start out and get that out of the way? Should we dug out first?
Maybe.
And then after that?
How about this?
Maybe that'll be a
Record
bonus.
live at the dugout. Record live
at the dugout.
Oh, I like
We
it.
can do that.
Mike tells me you can like pretty much rent the dugout for like
For what,
$50.
$300? I was gonna say $300. $50?
Well, we can't do it on the weekend because it's
insanely
popular
cheap.
with fucking comedy.
Yeah, but I agree. We probably don't even need to rent it out. We just need to sit in that back room.
Yeah,
and find
no
a
one will know.
live
It'll be the same thing as renting it out because no one goes in there.
Unless it's comedy night. Yeah.
Yeah,
Comedy night.
unless it's Saturday. Yeah.
Guys, if you're in Boston, go to the Dugout. What is it called? Isn't there like a longer name to the bar?
Dugout Cafe.
Dugout Cafe.
Dugout Cafe. Cafe? Are you serious? Cafe means
that's
coffee in Spanish, I think. There's
And
no
Doug-
coffee
Doug-
there.
Dave, I have a little bit of trivia. As seen in Manchester by the Sea.
I don't believe you. I don't believe
yeah.
you.
Yeah. What's the Rapey Affleck has like a T-shirt of it, and it's like what he sleeps in half the movie.
Yeah, I don't believe you. I've never seen Rapey Affleck in that bar, and we've been there a lot. Anyway,
his brother, old sad Affleck, went there, right?
Yeah,
and saw the shirt and gave it to his rapey brother.
Probably.
That's the story.
I heard they were descendant from slave owners, so that's the last thing I heard. Anyway,
From B. Skywalker.
okay, guys. Thank you for joining us. Last Jedi. Sounds like we all loved it, so go see it. It's great. And we will talk to you
Truly
later.
was the Last Jedi.
All right, guys. See ya.
Can't keep the children down. Can't keep the children down. Can't keep the children down. Can't keep the children. Can't keep the children. Can't keep the children down.